I didn't see
Maybe,
it.
yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Maybe
okay,
again we
not
can
a
put
problem.
after this. It was very nice,
Yes.
ma'am. We had a continuous flow. Yes,
Okay,
because
thank you.
yesterday we had stopped in between, so we tried to put it again where we had all starting from the inauguration, all our pioneers up to the valedictory function. It was so nice of you, ma'am. Always your touch of creativity. Yes, it shows
Yes,
how
yes.
much creative
With
you
all
are,
the photos.
that you have instilled that creative talent in all of us. We are abounded and we are so grateful to you, ma'am, for always making us think in a creative and innovative way. That's Elsa,
Thank you,
ma'am.
thank you.
Yes.
So don't
Thank you,
thank me
Elsa,
like
ma'am.
that, Turin.
During ma'am,
Don't
Yes.
thank
uh,
me like that
you
because
are our
still I
teacher.
love you all.
We will thank you, ma'am. You are our teacher. During ma'am, please
Yes,
ask
sister.
the parts to mute the video since we don't have the photo session now.
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Participants,
Thank you.
kindly note, as people are yet joining in, we'll have the photo session at 3 p.m. today. That is after the first speaker, Ms. Jnana Poompavai. From 2 to 3, the session will be over, and then we will have the photo session. So kindly mute your video and your audio, and we get into the session. Sister, shall we start?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes. So very good afternoon to one and all gathered here. With God's bountiful blessings, we are here into the post-lunch session. So everything has been executed as we planned because God is beside us, working miracles in a wonderful way. And that is how our illustrious alumni are getting connected with us. We are at different parts of the world, but God has brought all of us close together at heart, sharing knowledge and resources. Yes, over to Ms. Srimati, PG and Research Assistant Professor, PG and Research Department of Rehabilitation Science, to introduce the resource person of today's session, Ms. Jnana Poompavai. Yes, Srimati, you can take over.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon to all delegates, resource persons, and participants of this two-day faculty development program, international webinar on challenges and choices of persons with special needs during COVID-19 action and advocacy. On behalf of PG and Research Department of Rehabilitation Science, Holy Cross College, Trichy, I deemed it a great pleasure to welcome Ms. Jnana Poompavai Shanmugam, a proud, illustrious international rehab alumni, as a resource person for this session on distant education for children with special needs, inclusion challenges, and concerns. Ms. Jnana Poompavai Shanmugam is a potential trainer of trainers with expertise in the field of special education. With her master's in rehabilitation science, she has established herself as a special educator in life skills at Harmony Science Academy, Katy, Texas. For her hard and sincere work for children with special needs, ma'am has received n number of appreciation awards. One among that is the Harmony Southwest Campus Teacher of the Year 2018 to 19. Currently, she is the district PLC leader since 2019. The confidence in knowledge and her kind approach has made her an advocate for collaborating and communicating with the students, general educator, teachers, and parents of Houston, South, USA. We feel honored to welcome such an eminent person amidst us to handle this session. Before I handle the session to ma'am, participants, kindly note, if you have any queries, kindly post your questions in the chat box. It will be answered by our resource person. Ma'am, kindly take over the session.
Good afternoon to everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Pavai.
Okay. Thank you, Srimati, for the kind words. It's an honor to be a part of the Rehab alumni and give back. Thank you, Sister Lord Mary and Rehab faculty for believing in me and providing this opportunity. It's an honor to be a part of the Rehab alumni and definitely give back. It is also, at this time, I want to thank every one of you who are hardworking parents, teachers, professionals in India and making it succeed in this COVID-19 time, in spite of all the difficulties that you go through. it's everyone's success. Hats off to you all. So with that, I'm going to go over to my presentation. Just a couple of ground rules. So during my presentation, there will be some important slides for you guys with highlights. So which means take notes and make sure that you double check all the slides that have the highlights.
Participants, kindly pin on Pavai Shanmugam presentation. Participants, to view the full screen of the presenter, the resource person, Ms. Jnana Poompavai, kindly pin on Pavai Shanmugam presentation. Thank you. Over to
The
Pavai.
presentation is visible, right, Turin?
Yes, yes, Pavai. Yes, you can start.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The topic that I'm going to share with you guys today is distance education for children with special needs, inclusion challenges and concerns. So before I go into my topic, I just wanted to give a brief overview of the hierarchy of education that is in United States. So we have the Department of Education, but as you guys see at the bottom of the slide here, it says all policy or issues is dealt with the relevant organization in that state or so school district. So the state that I come from is Texas. Texas has its own education agency and it's called Texas Education Agency. So what this agency does, it has a lot of things, but the most important is it helps deliver education to 5 million students by providing leadership, guidance, and support. The whole Texas area education is divided into 20 education regions. If you don't know, Texas is the second largest city or state in United States. So in population and land area, that's why the education region is divided into 20 different regions. And then the region that we service, it falls under region 4. And here in this map, if you see, we have 7 counties in this region, and there are 48 school districts, and there are 39 charter schools with 1,536 campuses, and also 1,228,728 students. So these are the number of students that we service. We in the meaning the Texas Education Agency. Okay, so again, just wanted to highlight that there are some highlights, so you guys need to take notes of these because this would help you at the end of the session when you are doing your feedback. So let me just hit upon what is special education. So in the United States, the governing federal law is the Individuals with Disability Education Act, or its short form is called, acronym is IDEA. So IDEA means the IDEA acronym has the expansion Individuals with Disability Education Act. So under this act, they define special education as specially designed instruction at no cost to parents to meet the unique needs of a child with a disability. So while we go on what is special education, I just also want to give basic information about what is distance education. So distance education is planned learning that typically occurs in a geographical location different from the source of instruction. So it can also be referred in the current situation as at-home learning or remote learning. So there are different terms for that we use right now. Basically, it's distance education, and the instruction doesn't occur where they are learning from. And also under IDEA, we have categorized the disabilities into 13 different categories. I know in India, you guys have 21 different categories. So here under the IDEA Act, It is 13 different categories. Once again, that's also highlighted, so you might want to take note of this. And there is all the list of the categories that we have. So now let's come to the topic, which is the challenges and concerns. So what challenges and concerns did we go through right now? There are different, I would say, umpty number of them, but we just pick and choose the topmost priorities. So the first one is learning outside of school environment, because learning usually happens in school. Now they're learning outside of school environment. So that was a major challenge. Then online digital ignorance. There might be people who are well versed in digital learning, but there are some who are low tech or no tech. So that's the ignorance part of it. So we do have concerns about that. And then providing inclusions. So when we had a system pre-COVID, which was the school or at campus, the inclusion was made sure it happens with the regular system. But when we move on to post-COVID, onto the distance education, are we going to provide inclusion the same way as we did earlier? And then monitoring progress. That is a very key aspect and essential part, again, because we need to assess the students' performance and also monitor their progress, just like we would do with any other general education student. And also long hours for teachers and parents. As we all know, we have to double up, we have to put in extra effort and time, because we need to catch up with the new system, the new norm, as we say, and we need to learn and to be on top of it so we can serve these students better. And then structure and routine disruption. At this point, I would really emphasize, because the autism children with autism, they are the most affected because they are so routine prone. They stick to a routine like this. So it was difficult for those children to adapt, and it's a disruption for them, and as well as general education students, special needs students with any other category. So that was also one of the challenge and concern. And also absence of peer collaboration. At school, what did they do? They got to go in small groups, or they got to play with their friends, or they got to go into small groups and study, learn off of each other, role play. There were different things that was happening during the learning process with their peers. So that absence is also another challenge or concern that we have. So what was the main objective? The main objective during post-COVID was, even before the moment we knew it was a distance education, it was to identify the necessary tools and strategies for online instruction, basically to assess what tools we need, what strategies do we need to use. And the next one was adapt traditional in-classroom lessons into meaningful online instruction, which is basically the design of the instruction that we are going to do. Basically, we all had a design. When it was a regular gen ed classroom at campus, start of the year, the teachers are trained. When the teachers have their own curriculum, they have their pacing guide, so they know exactly first 9 weeks what to do, second 9 weeks what to do, third 9 weeks what to do, fourth 9 weeks what to do, and how to end the school. And for all subjects, no matter which subject they teach, they had a plan of action. But now, how are we going to use that and convert it into, or adapt it into the traditional in-classroom lessons into the online distance education? So that was the next objective that we had to focus on. The third one was create the processes to effectively manage online instruction. So finally, after we assess and we have a design, how do we operate? And then the operation should be effective and successful. So next was to develop a strategy to monitor learning goals, so which is nothing but monitor progress. So the 4 main objectives that we had, the Texas Education Agency, what they did was they gave it into a framework, saying the instructional framework, which is in this slide that you are going to see. So it was a 4-step process of instructional framework, or it can be called as a 4-phase. That's what they call it. So basically, whatever the Texas Education Agency had requested each of the schools and each of different regions to do, they just gave like a guidance. So what we did is we used the guidance and we as we, in the meaning the school professionals and leadership, came together, and then we had to assess, design, operate, and monitor progress, and then make it successful. So that's what we did for the past maybe like March through the end of the school year. So that's what I'm going to share with you guys. And also in each of these categories, again, these are highlighted. So this is something that you would like to write or take note of. The 4-step process of instructional framework. What are they? They are the assess, then you have a design, then you operate the design, and then you monitor the progress. So each of these categories, you will see that there are subcategories. So what we will do is in the future slides, we are going to go in detail about it. So I'm just going to pass on to the next slide. So phase 1, assess. So what are we assessing? When we were told that, okay, we are moving to distance education like this, we have to plan, right? So in the planning phase, the first phase was the assess. What did we assess? At home learning. So at home learning, how does it happen? First, we need to make sure if the student has the online platform, if they have the access to it, do they have the hardware to it, do they have the software? What do you mean by hardware? Like what do they use typically, and is that available at home? What are the softwares that go into the hardware? They are the Flipgrid, Nearpod, Udo Creations, Udolistic, Vocabulary, Lino, and PintoCard. These are some of the examples, but there is endless of softwares that are available. So just this is an example. So do they have all these, or do they have access to all this? So that was the first, in the first phase. And the next was instructional delivery methods. So there we had a curriculum and we had a pacing guide, and everything was set when we had a at school or at campus learning system. But now when we are going into distance education, are we having the instructional support that is going to be either with a free resource or existing licenses that we have been using pre-COVID to access to the international instructional support for the learners? Next is these instructional delivery methods, are they capable of combining the IEPs? Are we able to incorporate the IEPs in these devices, and does it support it? And the next thing that we were thinking about, or we had to assess, is in the instructional delivery, if it supports the different categories of disabilities like deaf, blind, autism, dyslexia, reading disabilities, dysgraphia, written expression, all those. So once the instructional delivery was decided, then what did we have to do? We had to assess for quality instructional design. So we have the instructional delivery method or the platform. So now in this platform, are we able to bring in quality instruction? So the course and the content requirements, the curriculum that we have or we had earlier in a campus setting, are we able to transfer them with the same quality and of the content? And the next one was literacy for each content area to support struggling learners. Is that available? And also assistance with formulating effective strategies for students with disabilities. If you guys had been listening to the morning session, Dr. Frida, she gave a great her presentation was about the effective strategies, and that was a wonderful presentation. So basically, anything that she told, how are we going to incorporate those strategies in online? Is the instruction or the medium of delivery that we have able to accept the quality of these strategies? So those are the things that we had to assess. So when we as our school or the district, what we did was we used a technology, which is the instructional delivery method. First, Google Classroom. The Google Classroom was used by our students and teachers as a learning platform to post lessons, to post assignments for attendance and grading purposes. Next, we use Google Hangouts, Meet, or Zoom as a platform to text or hold live sessions, one-on-one or group. Basically, it's a medium of communication to share information. And then when we were doing the assess, if the students, this is like for both special needs and general education students during the assess, when we know that if the the child did not, or the at home learning access to technology was not available, then we made sure that there were Chromebooks. So the school owned Chromebooks were being distributed for working. And also, if they do not have any internet access or any issues like that, there were some companies that were providing free internet service for a period of time. So we were giving information. Those were sent as communication to the parents. And also low tech and no tech content alternatives did exist. So we made sure that we had those options too. It was not just technology. So what if there's no technology, or for some reason the technology gave them a glitch? So we all also had the alternative form of printouts. So the printouts were ready. So anytime the parents can come up, just drive by the school and pick it up. And then we used the school website. What did we do? We used for grading purposes and for other basic information, including posting any details or any form of communication that the parent needs to have. So those were the platforms that we used. The next phase is phase 2, which is the design phase. So in design phase, there are two topics that we are going to discuss about. One is the curriculum and instructional model, what we need to use, and then is the design of the instructional model. Does it have a grading and progress monitoring policy? Is it compatible? So that's what we are going to see. So the second phase, during the design phase, when we did the curriculum and instructional model, so the question was, are we going to do by grade or by eligible category or by the means of delivery, or is it going to have the IAP accommodations? How are we going to connect them both? And also the goals and objectives, or the progress, everything, including the assessments. How are we going to connect them? And then also the curriculum and instructional model, does it provide direct, explicit instruction for students served by special education? Also, are the selected instructional materials, are they self-paced digital or self-paced print, or teacher-directed digital, or teacher-directed print resource? So what type of resource are we having? And also, we focused on, is there a designated way for instructional materials to be easily converted to meet the students' needs with cognitive and intellectual disabilities? For that matter, any type of disability, how are we able to convert those instructional materials? So these were all that we had to take care of when we are determining the at-home curriculum and instructional model. So then after that, to set grading and policy, progress monitoring policies and procedures. So how are they measured and documented? I know in a couple of the question sessions, those questions came like, what are the assessments do you use, and like how are you using, how are you measuring? So all these, it depends first on the type of disability, and then on the what is the educational plan or the goals and the objectives of each student. So based on it, and then again based on what subject, are you working with them on math, or are you working with them on science, or you're working with them on social studies, or you're working with them on functional goals like a fine motor, gross motor, anything. So based on those, there are a lot of measurement forms or online forms that you can always go online and like you can find resources. So use this resource, and then what we do is we have specific resource for different types of measurements. So how are these going to be uploaded onto the online distance education? So those are the things that we had to look at. Then how often progress of data is reviewed? So when we have a progress, when we are doing it online, are we doing it the same way as we did at the campus, or are we going to miss any? So we should not miss any. So that's why we need to make sure that the progress of the data is as and when, how we used to do it pre-COVID at campus. So then based on the data, are we doing any adjustments to the instructional? So is that a part of the curriculum and the instructional model that we are designing? So these are some of the things that we had to take care of. And then staff documentation of student work. Are we documenting every day the students' work? So these are some of the pointers to take note, and then we had in mind before even setting up the system. So when we did for designing the curriculum and instructional model, so we created a schedule. Basically, it can be daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. It depends on how you're planning. So the yearly one would be for the next academic year. So then what we need to make sure that both us and our families, students' families can see. And what did we do? Since we use the Google Classroom, so all teachers throughout the board in the district, we use the same format of how they need to be presented: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then on Monday there will be the maths, science, social studies, ELA, and then for our special needs students, if there was any functional goals, then we have those. So that's how we set up the Google Classroom. And then you prepare materials beforehand to avoid searching during the session. So make sure that before the session starts, every material that we have is there. So for that matter, if we are doing the daily or weekly post, we make sure everything is online, everything is linked. If we are using YouTube videos, so those are already linked into the classrooms. So Monday morning when the student opens the Google Classroom, everything is ready for them. And also send reminders. So before the start of the week, send reminders for that week, what is going to happen. So it's basically, again, in the communication part, we would go in detail. Then document thoroughly during or immediately after. So after the instruction or after the curriculum is shared with the students, we have to document thoroughly. Next, send a follow-up email to the family with next steps, assignments, and deadlines. So basically, again, this goes into the communication area, which we will again discuss later. Set grading and progress monitoring. So what we do in a Google Classroom is like make sure every morning when we are available for the students, and we are supposed to be available during the regular school hours. So daily morning greeting on the Google Classroom to start the day right. And also quick online check-ins every day for questions and doubts. So did they have any questions? Did they communicate back to us? Or do they have any questions about the assignments? So quick check-ins need to be done. That's the progress monitoring again. Then check this to see students' daily attendance and daily progress. So that's kind of like we keep an eye on how they're working. Are they working in the morning? Are they working in the evening? And are they understanding? Is it going, progressing? So those are the steps. Then set specific office hours so the students can communicate individually. We as special educators, or for that matter, general classes, where we can set it up like it's Tuesday and Thursday 3 to 4, or every day 3 to 4, or I can say every day 10 to 12 I'm available. So if any of you students or parents, you have any questions, concerns, any doubts, please feel free to communicate individually. So again, we send an email, we set that office hours that can be again great. So those were the process that we have to go through in the second phase. So now we are moving on to the third phase. So the first phase was assess, the second phase was design. So we designed our curriculum and we made sure that the grading and progress monitoring is also there. So now we are ready to operate. So what did we do? We made sure that in this phase, we will be first is determining at-home learning schedules and attendance plan. So what did we do? We made sure that we have the flexibility in the pace and the content, because I know several other presenters had mentioned that, and so I think Dr. Nageshwari, Dr. Viviani, she also mentioned about how to have flexibility in the schedule, and also if we have regular like a 40-minute period of math at school, so when it is online we have to give them like 20-minute for math, then we switch to their science or social studies or reading, and then again those are 20-minute. So basically the time that they work on each content area is reduced, and but the information on the content that they're learning is not reduced, and then they can take it at the pace that the students and the parents would like to. And also develop schedule based on instructional model. Is it daily, weekly, monthly, or is it visual? Is it online? Is it paper based? So depending on those. And also the school leadership insists that less is more. Why? Because everybody is learning. It's a new phase, and saying like the new norm. So it's a learning process, and we have hurdles, and each one of us have to go through the hurdles, and then like a failure is a stepping stone to success. We fail, we learn, we fail, we learn, and then somehow it's just a progress. But there's definitely a progress. So especially also you should think from the parents' perspective. The parents, they are working, so they are trying to make their ends meet. They are doing over extra hours in their job, and then they have to take care of their they have to monitor if their children, they are working every day, and what they're working on, and if they're turning in the assignments on time. So those are all, it involves some time. So, and imagine, like, for example, I'm a parent myself. I have 3 kids at home. So all 3 kids, they have their schedules, and they have their assignments, and they have the due dates that it needs to go to their teachers. So I am also busy working because I have to be available for my students from 8 to whatever is the work hours. So what do? I use my evening time. So once my work is done, then I have to check, make sure. It's just I have to monitor. I don't have to sit with them, but at least still I have to make sure that they have done that day's work and they have turned it in. So all those needs to be monitored. So that's why our school leadership always insists on less is more. And then flexibility in assessment. When the students are expressing their understanding using, they can use different varieties of there needs to be flexibility. We should not be very strict or just say, okay, this is all is your assessment. If you the type of assessment, and also the flexibility in like opportunities. So the type of assessments are Google Forms, pictures, videos, narrative sentence. So they should be able to express in any way that they can. And also, if, for example, when an assessment, like let's say we have a Google form and we give it to them, and the child was not able to perform, the child scored low, then they should be given more opportunities to again make up for that. There should be several opportunities for them to learn. So the goal is here is to learn, not to just finish the work. So next we go into the second, the 3.2, which is the adapting staffing model for students with disabilities. So in the operation phase, what happens? We have to make sure that we have to identify staff planning. We have to make sure we have enough staff, and then the staffs have the updated roles and responsibilities. And also we have to focus on relevant content, which means the content that is that was pre-COVID that we were doing in the school. Are we able to give the same relevant content back here? Are the teachers equipped enough to serve the students on distance education with the same content? And then the teachers have to be well organized, and then provide cognitive support like summaries of major points, use of pre-taught key terms. So these are some of the staffing models that we have to like keep track of. Then are they providing scaffolding tools? Are they using large visual slides? Then the related and ancillary services, are they able to provide and service the student virtually? And I think Dr. Jyoti did a fantastic presentation on that, because she being herself an ancillary provider, she gave beautifully explained how they are doing it virtually. So like that, do we have service personnel here for our students so they can be serviced, and are the services happening? And then feedback and assessment through progress check. Again, how is the feedback? How is the assessment? Do they know how to do? So those are the topics that we were discussing and in the operations phase. And also in the operation phase, the third one is communication. I cannot emphasize enough on communication. For any of you there, like be a parent, be a teacher, be a school, a person who's owning a school, or any kind of professional out there, no matter what field you are in, communication is very important. And then especially I would start with the setting parent expectations. So when we set up the Google Classroom, what do we do? Even before setting up, from the access, assessing the conditions. So what did we do? Basically, the school leadership, they sent survey forms to all the parents. So that's communication. And then that's how they assess the situation. Then after assessing, when designing, what did the school leadership do? The districts, they basically send a lot of information for teachers and online training programs for us to get trained, and then all the way the grading policy should happen, what is expected, and how we have to set up the Google Classroom. So basically all these happened within a week or two. So I'm just giving you an idea of what did we do to go or move from at campus to remote, which is to distance education learning. So it was like not just one person's work, it was a lot of persons involved, and every single person from top, from the Texas Education Agency to the parents down, everybody did an awesome job in getting it and going and having it smoothly run, because for us the focus or the goal was the students, and the students should receive the education, they should receive the content, and just like they say, it is, we have already a health pandemic, we do not want it to become an educational pandemic, so educational crisis I can say. So that is why more emphasis was on communication and setting it up and getting it going. So to establish routines and expectations for students using model schedules posted for distance education on Google Classroom. So once the parents get the information like, okay, the Google Classroom is set up, and this is how it is going to be set up, and this is how the subject content are going to come in, and we this is how you need to access. So all those information, it goes in the email, which is communication. And then what do? We emphasize to the parents that the study area or the space for each of the students be a common place and not a bedroom, because they need, just like how Viviani talked about, we need to set expectations from the parents to make sure that they know what they need to do, because parents need to play a major role. They play a major role in their child's education as the educator. So they need to be told that there needs to be a separate study area, and it should not be in the bedroom of the students or the children. And then they have to have a desk, a computer, or a learning tool and supplies ready in that area. And there should be no other distractions like music, like any pets, any other distractions. So avoid all distractions so the child can focus just the way that they would do in school, because it's already difficult, and we need to remove as much as possible all the other hindrances. And then monitor communication from their teachers. So the teachers are going to be communicating every day, or they, whatever the schedule they set. So please expect that you're going to get communication, and so monitor the communication and keep up with the communication. Then to set time to assist or monitor schoolwork progress. Just like I said, like they need, no matter what job they do, no matter how their day schedule is, just to set a little bit of time to assist and monitor the schoolwork progress of their own children. So those are the expectations we have to set for the parents. Next, 3.4, which is the model, provide model aligned professional development. So now we are going into from the in class or the school model to a remote model. So based on this model, are we aligning any professional development? Are the teachers equipped? So with assessment components, if like for example the art meeting is conducted virtually, are we ready? Do we know how to do it? How to set it up? All those. And then to support the different law requirements, especially the privacy law. And then use assistive technology. Are the teachers equipped well enough to use the assistive technologies in the new distance learning platform? So those are the areas to cover in operate. But again, just as I said, communication is an important aspect. So I would again just let you know that please make sure anybody and everybody understand the communication part. And again, I have highlighted this, so you know if it's highlighted, that's something that you need to take note on. So in communication, what do you need to do? You keep your communication, keep it simple. Progress check on students' emotional well-being. These three are key factors in communication, I would say. And communication is with all stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? They are the parents, the general education teachers, special education coordinators, school leadership, anybody that you would need to communicate for the student. So let's look at, keep it simple. So when you communicate, what do you need to do? You need to give clear, simple examples, step-by-step instructions of daily lessons and directions for the assignment. So this can be for the parents or the caregivers. Add possible video or picture or samples of what is expected or requested. So when we post math lessons, so just don't say, okay, do this. Instead, we can say, okay, we can post a video of an example, and then we can even do a teaching process, and then say, okay, now you can work on this and this, and then turn it on after so many days. So depending on the time frame that you set, and then use resources used by our school districts. So this is very important because we know there's a lot of resources. Again, then when we analyze in the curriculum instruction model and then grading and progress monitoring area, that's what we were in the design. We are designing, right? So instead of having new resources for the distance learning education, if you can have the resources that you had before, and if that platform is uploaded or that is transferred into the regular platform, the one-on-one or the teacher learning process to digital learning, that would be the best. So for example, some school districts, they use certain already online online reading softwares like Reading, no Reading, actually it's called no Reading, and other software that they use, which was happening even pre-COVID at school. So it was easy for these softwares to be moved on to digital learning and then use it. So that's why it's emphasis that use the resource that's being already used by a school district. For that matter, even textbooks. So if textbooks was used, just we send all the textbooks to the students, so they can either access through the textbook, physical textbook, or they can do online. So we gave them the option. And then provide cognitive support and scaffolding, which is very important. Next in communication is progress check. So when you check the progress, we were told that minimize time constraints when appropriate. So we made sure when we post lessons, it's posted like the weekend we posted. So Monday morning, 8 o'clock, when the child opens, the lessons are available. And then the due dates for the assignments are maybe Sunday of the following. We give them weekend. Why? Because we know that the parents are working, again they are busy, again less is more, so we give less. But again, we also know that they have emotional challenges, traumas, just like Beulah did a fantastic job about invisible trauma. We don't know what the family is going through. So those things are happening. For that, we make sure that we minimize the content to, like, for the time, as well as increase the time when they can turn in the assignments, so they can work on the weekends too. The parents can help them on the weekends when they do not have their job. Then plan for variety in students' ability to complete work by announcing assignments well in advance and provide clear due dates. So once the due date is done, then they know that by then they have to turn it in. Provide regular, did they turn it in on time? No. We have students who turn it in on time. We have students who delayed. So what did we do? We just, again, communication, send reminders. Hey, this assignment was due on such and such date. Looks like you have not completed. So please, can you take some time to complete? If the child is too young or the child is not able to, we still send the communication to the child, email, and the parent, and then the parent to make sure that they monitor the child's work and make sure that they turn it in. Then provide regular feedback and corrective opportunities. So that's one thing that I just told. Provide feedback to them. And corrective opportunities, that's something like, so if they did not do a test well, and just because they wanted to finish it in a hurry, they just finished reading in 3 minutes a passage, and then it had 5 questions and only 1 question is right. So we do not just go ahead and grade it that way. So we give it what as teachers we do is we send it back to the student for more opportunities to correct it. We do not know what the situation was or why the student was not able to succeed in understanding or getting the content or the knowledge. So we give them more opportunities to correct and learn. Then Provide multiple ways to demonstrate knowledge opportunities. Again, we just next provide samples, examples, and guides. That is always there. As much as possible, we provide examples and then sample lessons or sample of what is expected from them, so they can do that. Always like a picture and then an explanation, so they can know exactly what is required of them. And the next one is emotional well-being checks. So this is also very important as a part of a communication, because we know, again, as Ms. Beulah said, and then Dr. Nageshwari said, and Ms. Rebecca was also saying, managing challenging behaviors. So all those are incorporated, and half of the problems will be solved if we can just keep in touch, keep in communication, understand what the child is going through, understand what the parent is going through as a family. And then for that, what we did, like some of the school districts did, was we did home visits. So we know that we are not able to go into the homes of these students, right? So we did a drive-through home visit, or a curbside, we would call it. And then we just went and talked to the student, talked to the parent. We just asked them how it is going. Is there any way we could help? We just came to say hi. We wanted to see you. So they were so happy. It was a very positive response from all of the parents. And then we also posted thank you notes, miss you notes, keep learning, keep learning, etc. on the school website. So record staff reading, and also the staff read books, and then we recorded ourselves, and then we posted it on YouTube video for all the students to listen. Because if you don't want to read a book by yourself, all they have to do is just click on it and then listen and then enjoy. So now we are into the phase 4. The first one was the assess, we design, then we operate, and now the phase 4 is monitor progress. So in monitor progress, what did we do? We provide and monitor continuous support. So the students' progress was monitored, then we provided ongoing teacher support, then we troubleshoot any problems that is happening during the process, and then again support ongoing operations. Like this is from district level, especially if we have any technical glitches or any school website issues, then they take care of it, and then continuously improve the instructional model. So that is the main point in the space. And then progress monitor. So this I had touched upon earlier too. So what do we do? Daily students worksheets. Are we as teachers or staff saving it? IEP updates. Are we doing the IEP updates? And IEP updates, luckily for our district, we have everything online. So all we had to do is just go online and update it. Then progress report quarterly, the same thing. We, even before COVID, we did online. So that's again a piece of cake. If not, then we had to figure out how to do the progress report and how to set up if it is a school, then do a school-wide system, set it up right now. So for the future academic year, it's all set and ready for you guys to go. And then assessment. What are the different types of assessment? We did formative and summative. What is formative? Formative is, for example, let's say there's a unit in math. In the unit, there is like 7 lessons. So what did we do? During the teaching of each of the lesson, when we test them or when we check for knowledge, then that's formative. Summative is when you give a summary of all the units as a end of like week test, or end of 2 weeks you give a test, then that's the summative. And again, what are the types? You can use Google Forms, you can use pictures, you can use narratives, or any other form of assessment that's available outside that you can modify, and you are able to use it for your distance learning. So then training of teachers, this is something very important that we have seen through the different phase here, and also in this phase it's very essential. So what do? We have a professional learning community at a district level, and the teachers are trained. Just like every year, any school, the first 2 weeks is the training phase. So now what happens is we need to make sure in the progress monitor check that the teachers are again trained. So what did we do? As soon as we got a Google Classroom set up, that was a training. There were a lot of online trainings, and I am a teacher trainer, so for our district, and so I had to do some extra work on basically setting up the whole Google Classroom or a sample classroom for the special needs, and then how every other teacher could go ahead and set up their classroom. So that was easy for them just to look at the model that I created and then do it. And then when they were doing it, they had some hiccups, so they had to call me, and then we had to do a online Google Zoom session. So in that, we had to do a step-by-step instruction, and also what is the Texas Education Agency guidelines are for us, what we can do, what we cannot do, what we should do, what we should not do, and all those. And then also the content is not compromised when using the accommodations and modifications, because for special needs children, the accommodations and modifications are very essential. So if the contents are compromised, no, that's not going to do it. So, and also to follow curriculum and scope of sequence. For us, we have to follow the same as, because we are trying to do inclusion. So we modify the regular curriculum and then we give it to them. Right now, we don't have exams, so they are exempted from exams. If they were having exams, then we have something called star alternate, which for the students, we have to prepare them. So then we have something called the vertical alignment, again given by Texas Education Agency, just for the special needs, to prepare them for the star alt too. So we need to make sure the teachers know all of that, and they are also doing that during the distance education time too. Then we have to establish daily routines and expectations, peer collaboration, educate parents. So all of these need to be emphasized. Then, so with all that said and done, I am done with the 4 phases. So basically, again, I'll just tell the phase 1 is assessing, so phase 2 is design, phase 3 is operate, and then phase 4 is monitor the progress. This is our expectation that was given by our education department, and it says a strong start for 2020 and 21. Students and families will choose how they attend school. So they get a choice of attending the school as on-campus, remote, or hybrid. So what does on-campus mean? On-campus is the regular one where they come into the school and instruction 100% of the time. What is remote? Again, distance education. Students plan to participate in remote learning 100% of the time. What is hybrid? Hybrid is students plan to participate in an intentionally designed mix of on-campus and remote learning. So we should be able to toggle between this from on-campus to hybrid. So let's say in on-campus they are, and for some reason there's a closure, or we had to for some reason close the school, then we had to be immediately able to jump to the remote. And then if possible, and if there is situations like, I think there was Ms. Jyoti was also explaining, she said they can come in on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays they can stay home, which is a hybrid method. So all those options are given to the parents right now. So this is what it is proposed. An intentionally designed hybrid model makes sense in some contexts. So staff, what do we need to do with the staff? Split the staffing model. Leverage teacher strength across, and one is environment, the other one is instruction type. So in environment, we had to make sure we are able to provide on-campus as well as remote. And then in the instruction type, we are able to provide to the whole class, which is a large scale, or the small group of students, which is if they opt to. And then additional days school year planned to account for intermittent closures. So when there is intermittent closures, what do? We have to plan for the additional days of servicing the students, because in Texas we have to cover so many number of minutes. It's 17,500 minutes that we have to put in for the education purpose of the students. So we have to make sure that is attained, or we are done with that, or 180 days. So, but minutes is more important for us. And then student schedules that allow for asynchronous learning, whether on or off site. So what is asynchronous? Asynchronous is, again, I know, I think Dr. Nageshwari in her presentation also had this synchronous and asynchronous. So synchronous is basically you're syncing in with the teacher's teaching, which means they give a specific time and say, for this time, I'm going to give you instruction on this lesson on this topic, so I need you to be available. And this can be either remote or on campus. So that is synchronized. What is asynchronized? Asynchronized is the teacher gives or posts the lesson, and then again this happens as in remote. So the student's schedule should be available for both. And then specific days for small group support and intervention. So if small group support and intervention happens or needs to happen, then we need to have some specific days allotted for it. Then the academics area. So when you come into this, materials intentionally selected for quality, rigor, and ability to span remote and on campus. So we have to be ready for both. And then delivery, again, mix of synchronized and asynchronized while on campus or remote. And then progress monitoring. So through formative and interim assessments, it requires teacher collaboration across environments. So basically, we have to be ready for both. And our success depends on teacher, parent, and student. It's like a number combination law. So just like a lot of them had questions like the parents are not involved or the parents are not yet up to the expectations where they can work with it. So it is necessary. It is important. So that is why the slide is there, because it's like 100% to achieve the student's success. The teacher, the parent, and the student, all three of them have to work in synchrony. With that, I'm done with my presentation. So I wanted to give credits to all of the websites that I used to collect the information. So you guys can go on to this link and get more information, more resource, even for the strategies and as to what content area wise you would like to add. So please, you're offering benefits. And then also, for my daughter, Ovia Shanmugam, who helped with me in editing this presentation. With that, I would like to thank first the PG and Research Department of Rehabilitation Science, Holy Cross College, RCI, and Dr. A. Christina Bridget, Principal, Holy Cross College, Dr. Lourdes Mary, Head of the Department, faculty and students who were instrumental in making this webinar a success. You guys are the best. You guys are the backbone, I would say. This webinar has been happening so successfully, and we have one more person who's coming after me, Dr. Lakshmi. I am so looking forward to learn from her. She's going to be talking about right paths to move forward. Each and every one of the presenters, I would say I learned a lot from them. I did not miss any of the presenters, no matter it was nighttime for us. And even now when I'm presenting, the timing is 3:30 to 4:30 a.m. in the morning. But I am so excited, and I'm so excited to share what we learned. And definitely I know it's going to help. And we are looking, actually, I have a request for our sister HOD that just like you put in.
Render her welcome also.
Sir, good afternoon. Can you unmute your video and show yourself, sir? We'll be happy to see you. Dr. Nachiketa. Sir, hearty welcome to you, sir. I think you're not visible to us.
Yes.
I think he's here with us. Okay, ma'am, we'll continue.
We'll continue. Yes, over to
Yes,
Srimati
yes.
for the
Thank you,
interaction
ma'am.
session.
Thank you, Pavai ma'am. That was an exemplary session on distance education for children with special needs, inclusion challenges, and criterion and consent. Sorry, ma'am, I could see so much of appreciation in the chat box rather than questions. Only very few questions are being posted in our chat box.
That makes me happy.
Yes, ma'am. That was very clear. You were very clear on your point.
I see a question from Shamim Bano. She asks me, what is the approximate number of student, teacher, and support staff ratio in class? So student teacher ratio, usually it ranges from anywhere 1:8 to 1:12. You can go to 12. Again, depending on the intensity of the disability, you can have paraprofessionals in there. If it is any severe disability, then it is just 1:1 or 1:2. And then if it is a mild or medium disability, then the number is lower. So it is never specific. It differs again from school district to school district.
Ma'am, there is another question posted in our chat box. Ma'am, can you hear me? Ma'am, Pavi ma'am, can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, Srimati,
Yeah.
yes.
Ma'am, all the children are highly individualized. How we as a teacher can handle children and monitor them in an online platform?
So we have individualized education plan for these students, right? So especially when it is children with special needs, then because they're see, there are two things. One, we are trying to include them into the regular curriculum. So when you want to include them into the regular curriculum, we need to make sure if a general education student is learning in a science or a math on a specific content area, so we give the same content area worksheet or modify based on their accommodations and modifications, modify and give it to them. And then they are going to work on it. But when the actual work happens, that is where we go in and help. So when we help, it has to be individualized. Again, because of the privacy law, we cannot have group sessions with special needs kids. So what we do is we have a specific time. Like Monday, I would be from 10 to 11, I would help one student. Maybe Tuesday, 8 to 9, I would be helping the other student. And then Wednesday, I would be helping the third student. So we make it very individualized even on these sessions. And we have Zoom sessions. So based on the parent availability and the student availability, because they have other therapy sessions also going on. They're going for therapy outside of what we do. So those therapies are also now online on Zoom. So there are certain students who will say, oh, we cannot come in the afternoon from this time to this time because they have this therapy outside therapist who's going to do online Zoom. So based on the student and the parent availability, we set up the class sessions, and then we do one-on-one help them to to work on their content area based on their individualized educational plan.
Thank you, ma'am. There was another question posted by Ms. Anita. She would like to know any assessment tool or questions that we have to assess the social and emotional well-being for children with special needs.
Wow, social and emotional well-being. That was a question for some other presenter who did. Okay, I don't have any specific assessment tool offhand now, but again, the social and emotional needs are not assessed by the assessment part is not from the class teacher. We have them all assessed by the independent contractors, and then we get the information. But there are lots of tools. If needed, we can always find them, and then I can send it to them as email.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, there is another question. As internet connectivity is very poor in many of the villages in India, can you suggest any software which can be used on an online, offline mode for teaching learning purpose for children with special needs?
Offline mode software. I am sorry, I have to say I don't know, but I can get back to you on that. What we do is when either internet is not available, or if they do not have online means of communication, or they are not able to do the work online, we go back to the paper. So the school has printed paper worksheets or the packets for each grade, for each subject, and we always have it ready. So what happens, even for example, the Chromebooks that the school has distributed, sometimes when we have issues, they say, oh, the Chromebook didn't work today, or we were not able to work on it. So what do? So they just come, give the Chromebook and take another Chromebook, or they say, no, I want a paper packet so my child can work on it. So we are okay with it. So that should not be a stopping point. We should find out other means, even if it is using the paperwork. And then what they did is they were given 2-week time, and then they can just return the work so the teachers can grade, and then they can put the grades online. So that's what we did.
Ma'am, there is one more question. With that, we'll wind up our session. What is the role of special worker in the special education department as it's now in an online mode of classes?
That's again ancillary service that they provide. So again, it's not my field of expertise, or I do not work with any social worker. So I'm sorry, I won't be able to answer that question, but I can get information, or any of my presenters who are listening, if they could answer that question or over email, I appreciate that too.
Thank you so much, Pave ma'am. That was a wonderful session. Definitely, we have taken all the notes, not only for the assessment part, but also to help our brethren in the nearing future. Thank you so much, ma'am. We are very pleasure to be connected with you. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much, Pavai ma'am. It was excellent presentation. Really enjoyed listening to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. It's my pleasure.
For us also, it's a pleasure to meet alumni.
Sister, can we move on to the next session?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Pavai, and thank you, Shri. That was a wonderful presentation, a very practical oriented and a self-explanatory one. All your slides spoke very well of the content that you wanted to deliver. Thank you, Pavai, and thank you, Shri. Over to
Thank
the
you.
last session
Thank you,
before the
ma'am.
valediction for today's FTP
Do
International.
we have poster session now, ma'am? Just to check with Dharmi.
I just asked Naga ma'am. Naga ma'am said we'll have it after the valediction, sister, because we're already running short of time. It's going to be 3:15.
Ma'am.
Yes?
Yes. Okay,
So
proceed,
we'll
ma'am.
continue. Participants kindly stay connected and tuned. Now we have the fourth session, yes, for today. And it is, the resource person for the day is Dr. Lakshmi Armugam. And I kindly invite Ms. Angel Selvaraj, Assistant Professor, PG and Research Department of Rehabilitation Science, to introduce the speaker, the resource person, to us. Over to Ms. Angel. Angel? Yes, Angel?
Not audible, Angel.
Not audible. You're not audible, ma.
Increase your
Angel, unmute your audio.
We are not able to hear you, Angel.
Angel, unmute your audio.
Excuse me, ma'am, without headset, she can try.
Angel, maybe you can remove your headset and try, ma.
Now, ma'am,
Yes, Angel, you're audible.
Yes.
a warm good evening to all the participants. There is a famous quote saying, "It takes nothing to join the crowd. It takes everything to stand alone." Here we have an outstanding personality who has more than 18 years of experience with extensive knowledge in grants, research and development in both higher education and non-profit sector. She is none other than the proud alumni of Holy Cross College, Dr. Lakshmi Arumugam, Senior Grants Manager, Georgetown University, Washington, USA. I'm happy to introduce you before this gathering now. Before, Dr. Lakshmi Armugam has worked as a grants manager at University of South Florida and held several managerial positions at international non-profit organizations focusing on disability and development. She is a gold medalist in Masters in Rehabilitation Science, as well as holds a Masters in Public Administration from University of South Florida and an advanced level certification in Research Administration. During her studies at Holy Cross College, she represented India in Canada World Youth International Exchange Program and brought many laurels to the college. She was a guest of honor at Rotary Club International London to appreciate her work for persons with disability in rural areas. She has an enriching travel experience with travel to more than 15 countries for various professional programs. We are happy to have you amidst us, ma'am. Eagerly awaiting to hear from you. Before handing over to Dr. Lakshmi Arumugam, I request the participants to post your queries in the chat box at the end of the session and pin on to Dr. Lakshmi Arumugam for her presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Angel Selvaraj. Thank you for your introduction. And thank you, Ms. Pave. You set a great atmosphere here and given me a great challenge. And hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be part of this great initiative. And thank you all of you for joining this webinar, especially Dr. Nachikita, the Director of National NEP CD. If I'm wrong, please excuse me. Dr. Sister Ruth Mary and my whole teachers and the mentors who have been very much supportive to all of my work and who brought me up to this level today. What I'm today is because of my teachers, my rehab, and the entire rehab crew. Thank you so much, because I do understand that we are running short of time. So let me quickly move on to my presentation. Here are two logistics in my presentation. One is I have added some videos. It may take a couple of, there may be time lag. I do not know about it. So kindly excuse me. And I also added some videos in other languages, maybe Tamil and Kannada speaking videos are part of it. I'll try to translate as much as possible. Kindly, if you have any questions, just post it on the chat. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you. And let's move on to my presentation.
ये फ्लैश कार्ड आसानी से काइट के रूप में काइट के रूप में उपलब्ध हो जाता है।
Nitu, please mute your audio.
ये फ्लैश कार्ड
Okay, hello everyone. My topic here today is to discuss about protecting the rights of persons with disability during COVID-19. You see what the picture of my university. I work as a senior grants manager at the Office of Research Services at Georgetown University. This university is located in center of DC, which is very close to the Capitol, Supreme Court, and a lot of other attractions in Washington, DC. And we have about 4 main campuses. One is the medical college, and the second one is the law college, and the third one is the main campus, which is where we offer a lot of curriculum, like regular curriculum, arts, science, and humanities, and other studies. And the fourth campus is located in Qatar, which is outside United States, and we do take care of the students from Middle East and other countries by offering programs via Qatar campus. And in order to begin with my presentation, here are some facts which are needed as a part of this conversation. I know most of you are all in the special education field. This may not be interesting, but still, as a special educator, we have a higher responsibility to know more about what is happening across the world and what is that I can bring it to my children with disabilities who I'm teaching. What kind of knowledge I can share with parents of children with disabilities. So far the presentations were focusing on education and the education rights and the methodologies and so many information shared by my seniors, my wonderful resource persons. But basically we need to also know about other things about persons with disability. So here we have the facts. One is in US, globally, we have 1 million people, roughly about 15% live with some form of disabilities. And in the United States, we have about 61 million adults who live with disability. And this map would show you the picture. So here, one in four Americans have some form of disability. The classification here is slightly different from what we see from India. So here they have included more persons with disabilities into this. So you have this fact like 1 in 4 have disabilities. And whereas in India, we know that, according to the US Census, it's 2.21%, which is about 26 million people who have some form of disabilities. And as you all know, there is approximately 60% of the person with disabilities, they live in rural areas. So these are major facts that we need to know. In the context of rights of disabilities, legislations play an important role. We need to understand how it came. And in the US, we have Americans with Disability Act, which is the latest was 1990, which protects the rights of people with disabilities, and it guarantees equal opportunities in public accommodations, jobs, transportation, government services, telecommunications. So these are the major areas where you can find articles and titles spectrum, and it's a big document. And based on that UNCRPD, the countries, South Asian countries and rest of the countries have enacted a Disability Act based on the United Nations Convention. So now we come to the COVID situation, where you and I learned in the 2020, we know how to wash our hands for 20 seconds, which is very much, new to us. So far we have been washing hands, but we never knew how to wash properly our hands due to this novel virus. So what is this virus impact on the persons with disabilities? So people with have higher, people who are older, and people who have chronic health conditions, and people with disabilities, for example, who have higher respiratory infections, are more prone to have this COVID infection. For rest of the others, we know that not everybody die out of COVID virus, but there are complications. It has an impact, social impact. What other impact is, the danger is due to discrimination and barriers for information and social service and healthcare, social inclusion and education. So the barriers are different, and the impact in the social life of the persons with disabilities are different. So we would be analyzing it from grassroots level to the global level. So in order to understand some issues, the issues may be the same, access to health, but how it is viewed in grassroots level would be different from how it is viewed in a national level. So let us look at it from a grassroots level perspective. So if you take any of the documents from WHO or United Nations or World Bank health reports, current reports all classify the major concerns for persons with disabilities in a global perspective into 4 major categories. One is access to health, access to information, access to employment, and access to education. So these are major classification, and one is coming up, the social discrimination and the domestic violence among the persons with disabilities. So we can, if you read those reports, we can classify majority of the issues into these 4 major categories. So in order to understand this, we need to understand what is happening in the grassroots level. So here is the voices of persons with disabilities. It's going to be in Tamil, but I can translate what Mr. Paunturai from Disabled People Organization from Pudukkottai district, Tamil Nadu is going to say. And let's hear, and I can translate it for you.
புதுக்கோட்டை மாவட்டம் கீரனூர்ல மாநில அரசு நிறைய இந்த கொரோனா தொற்றுக்காக முழு முயற்சி எடுத்துக்கிட்டு இருக்காங்க. இதற்கு வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா அடிக்கடி லாக்டவுன் பண்ணதுனால மாற்றுத்திறனாளிகள் வெளியில வேலைக்கு போக முடியல. அவங்க வந்து 100 நாள் வேலைக்கு போக முடியல. அவங்க வாழ்வாதாரத்தை இழந்து நிறைய தவிக்கிறாங்க. அதுல வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா அவங்களுக்கு அரசு செய்யணும், தனியார் தொண்டு நிறுவனம், பொலிட்டிக்கல் புதுக்கோட்டை மாவட்டம் கீரனூர்ல இந்த கொரோனா தொற்றுக்காக முழு முயற்சி எடுத்துக்கிட்டு இருக்காங்க. அரசு சைடும் தனியார் தொண்டு பண்றாங்க. இதுல மாற்றுத்திறனாளிகளுக்கு சரிவர போய் கிடைக்கிறது இல்லை. அரசு அறிவிக்கிற சலுகை கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சம் கிடைக்குது. அதுல பாத்தீங்கன்னா மாற்றுத்திறனாளிகள் அவங்களுக்கு பஸ் வசதி எல்லாம் இல்லப்ப, அதனால வீட்டிலே இருக்காங்க. அவங்களுக்கு வாழ்வாதாரத்தை இழந்து நிறைய தவிக்கிறாங்க. அவங்களுக்கு சாப்பாடு மற்ற அத்தியாவசிய பொருட்கள் நிறைய கிடைக்கிறது இல்லை. அதனால இவங்களுக்கு தொழிலுக்காக நிறைய எக்கனாமிக் டெவலப்மெண்ட் தொழிலுக்காக பிளஸ் சாப்பாட்டுக்காக கொஞ்சம் நல்ல.
Okay, we listen to Pandure, and those who don't understand Tamil, what he's trying to say is government is providing some support, but the implementation part is very slow, and not everybody is getting all the special assistance given by the government at this point of time. And the second one he is focusing is the people are unable to go to work because there is no transportation, and people have difficulty, even those who are employed under 100 days employment scheme, the NRGS. So they are unable to access those, since they are unable to go to the work, there is no livelihood. And also they have issues in accessing food, basic need for the, basic food and food grains and so many other issues related to it. So in Tamil Nadu, you heard that he said the government is providing some support, but there is in the situation in Karnataka.
My name is Kiran, KVS Karnataka Vikalajya Samajam Sangatane, Home Group Secretary. Migration idare, HIV idare, transgenders idare, ಮತ್ತೆ permanent dead patients idare, disability idare. ಇವರಿಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಇದೆ. ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ನಂಬರ್ಗೆ COVID-19 ಕೊರೋನಾ ವಾರಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಟೀಮ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ, 6 ಮೆಂಬರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಫೋನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಫೋನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ನಾವು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ದುಡ್ಡು ಹಣಕಾಸಿನ ವ್ಯವಹಾರ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಫೇಸ್ಬುಕ್, ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ಯಾವ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಇದ್ರು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಕಳಿಸಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಯಿತು.
ಸರ್ಕಾರದಿಂದ ಏನು ನಿರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ?
ಸರ್ಕಾರದಿಂದ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರೋ ವಿಶೇಷ ಪ್ಯಾಕೇಜ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ 5% ರಿಸರ್ವೇಶನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಡಿಸಬಿಲಿಟಿಗೆ COVID-19 ಬಜೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು 5% into 20 crores ನೀವು ಬಿಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ 5% 10 crores ನಮ್ದೇ ದುಡ್ಡು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಳ್ಳೇಬೇಕು. ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಯಾವ ಡಿಸಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಏನ್ ನೀಡಿದೆ ನಮಗೂ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಇವತ್ತು COVID-19 ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಯಾವ್ದೇ ಡಿಸಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಕೊರೋನಾ ಬಂದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು? ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ದುಡ್ಡೇ ಎಲ್ಲಿದೆ? ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೇಗೆ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅನ್ನೋದೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಇದೆ. ನಮಗೆ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಪರ್ಸೆಂಟೇಜ್.
So in order to shorten his presentation, what he's saying is government of Karnataka, he tried to say that there are government in Karnataka, there are not much assistance available through government. And further, if you listen to him, he would say about the disability pension, which is not accessible right now. And the latest what they received was in February 2020. And it was only for the past 5 months, they have not received the disability pension. So right now we are tackling the virus, which is very contagious, and there are issues related to getting this income for these disabled persons. If the disability pension is not issued on time, how are they going to get their basic need to fulfill food? Some of the basic things that they need is food. For that, you need money. And if they are not going to give the disability pensions on time, it is becoming a very difficult situation for those who are living in the rural areas. And so what they have done through this federation is they have gone, they collected 50 people, and they mobilized and they went to the district level, and they have made some actions, but still the situation is different. And so they have launched their own helpline, and they are supporting people with disabilities what they can do from the support of NGOs and with the support of other donors, and they are trying to do their best. But you can see, I can only bring 2 examples here. So you can see one state something is happening, and we know Kerala is very much advanced, and there are a lot of other special assistants are going on and things are taken care. And Karnataka, from the field, this is the reality what we know right now. And if you we look at the next sample, so in the US, what we see as a problem here is, here also some grassroots level initiatives are taken, and the issues are slightly different. Yesterday, Dr. Savitha Pillai was telling how her student was unable to access internet from a remote corner. So I heard the same question similar question in Dr. Pavai's presentation, that, how do we ensure that children with disabilities who are in rural areas, how to make this internet, faster, accessible. The issues are same. Even in the United States, we have remote places where the internet connection is not that great. So one of her students traveled to McDonald's to access the internet service. Yesterday, that was a classic example which was given by Dr. Savitha Pillai. So similarly, the issues are the same, but the level, the dimension to it are quite different. So for example, here we have a status report. The nationwide 11 million Americans with disabilities depend on SNAP. SNAP is like a supplement nutritional assistance program, also called food stamps, to pay for groceries. 15 states out of 50 states have not yet ensured their high-risk residents can receive online groceries delivery through SNAP, leading to millions of people with and without disabilities risking exposure to COVID-19 or going hungry. So the problem is, we are talking about basic food, basic need in India, and here we are talking about how do we get this groceries delivered with the online orders. So the issue is the same, but the dimensions are very different. So we do have issues in healthcare where the disabled people organizations are taking care, and medicines, prescriptions, diapers, and special service. We do have issues in all respect to this. And the transportation difficulties. During lockdown, all the public transport have been stopped, so people were unable to go. And those who, mostly in the US, you don't rely on public transport, but major cities are very well connected with public transportation, where these people with disabilities were unable to access any of those services. And there are millions of people out of job right now, and their source of income has gone down, and their livelihood is a big question mark, and it is created economic issues. This is this is all same from an Indian perspective and a developed country perspective. The issues are same, but how we tackle is the question. So if we move to the state level, I have example from my own friends. So I collected my sample from my own friends. I'm very proud they are in frontline in my state. These are the Rehab alumni in frontline. First one is Lakshmi. She is my classmate. I'm very proud to say I studied with her. So from the day one, from March 15th, she's been involved in identifying persons with mental illness in Tiruvannamalai district and bringing them to the sheltered place. She's part of the COVID-19 task force in the district, and she's been helping and doing a proactive role. She's also a head and principal of a special education school in Tiruvannamalai district, but still she's partnering with the government to help these people who are out on the roads. And the second example you would see is Jayanti. She is also my classmate, and she is working as a special education therapist in CMC Vellore. And we are all teleworking, and some of us really don't have the need to go to work or go to a hospital setup. But here my friend is doing a wonderful job by going to the hospital, taking her life and risking herself, and giving a training to parents who come for counseling and who are the parents with children with needs, parents with disabilities, children with disabilities. So she is providing support, what she could offer, but these people have been working 24/7, and we check with them. I check with them very often, and the experience is amazing. And the third example I have here is Dr. Jayalakshmi. She works at the Chikmagalur Pondicherry Hospital, and she is involved in crisis counseling to persons with disabilities, with and without disabilities affected by COVID-19. And I'll just play a few shots from what Jaya has sent to me, and you can listen to her.
அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். நான் டாக்டர் ஜெயலக்ஷ்மி, ஜிப்மர் மருத்துவமனையில் வேலை செஞ்சுட்டு புதுச்சேரியில். இப்போ நான் உங்களுக்கு இந்த COVID-19 ஏற்படக்கூடிய மன ரீதியான பாதிப்புகள், மென்டல் டிசபிலிட்டிஸ் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவோம், அதாவது மென்டல் ஹெல்த் இஷ்யூஸ், தனிநபர் மற்றும் குடும்பத்துக்கு என்னென்ன பிரச்சனைகள் வருது அப்படிங்கிறத பற்றி இப்போ நான் சொல்ல போகிறேன். அதாவது இந்த COVID-19 அப்படிங்கிறத மக்கள் என்ன பண்ணிட்டாங்க அப்படின்னா, அதை ஒரு களங்கமாக பார்க்க ஆரம்பிச்சிட்டாங்க. ஒரு தப்பு பண்ணிட்டாங்க, எப்படி நம்ம சமுதாயத்தில் ஒதுக்கி வச்சிடும், அதே மாதிரி இப்போ COVID-19 வந்தால் நம்ம அவங்கள சமுதாயத்தை விட்டு ஒதுக்கி வச்சிடணும் அப்படிங்கிற எண்ணத்தை மக்கள் கூட கொண்டு வந்துட்டாங்க. ஏன் அப்படின்னா, இந்த சைடு 2 பேரிகார்டு, அந்த சைடு 2 பேரிகார்டு, 2 போலீஸ் எல்லாமே வந்துடுறாங்க. ஒரு ஷார்ட் டேர்ம் ரேஞ்சில் பார்த்தீங்க அப்படின்னா ஒரு ஆம்புலன்ஸ் வரும், கூட்டிகிட்டு போவாங்க. இதெல்லாம் மக்களுக்குள்ள ஒரு பயத்தை கொண்டு வந்துடுச்சு. எங்கே நம்ம சமுதாயத்தில் நம்ம ஒதுக்கிடுவாங்கிறோங்கிற எண்ணம் மக்களுக்குள்ள வர ஆரம்பிச்சிச்சு. நம்ம சமுதாயத்தில் இருக்க அங்கீகாரம் குறைஞ்சிருமோங்கிற பயம். இது 2 கோவிடோட வந்திருக்கு. 2வது பார்த்தீங்க அப்படின்னா, இப்போ COVID-19 அது ஒரு உயிர்கொல்லி நோய் அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி கொண்டு வந்துட்டாங்க. அதனால மக்களுக்கு என்ன நினைப்பு வந்துருச்சு அப்படின்னா, இப்போ COVID-19 வந்துட்டா நான் உடனே செத்து போயிடுவேன் அப்படிங்கிற எண்ணம், தவறான எண்ணம், அதாவது நெகட்டிவ் இம்பேக்ட் ஜாஸ்தி இருக்கு மக்கள்கிட்ட.
So what Jaya was speaking about is, there are negative impacts due to virus and the lack of information for families with persons with disabilities. And she further talks about what is her role in giving counseling to these patients who come with COVID-19 and those patients who have disabilities along with the COVID-19. So their jobs are very important at this point of time, and they are doing their best, and these are all part of our state initiative. So the next I wanted to show you, this is a recent example. So on Wednesday, when I was trying to put things together for my slide, I got a call from Washington DC. My son goes to a school here, so it's a public school, and I got a call, hey, collect your food. And every week we get the calls from the schools for whether your child has disability or not. You get a call to say you can collect your food, and the food is given no matter what class, what status you are. It is for everybody. So similarly, all over the US, you receive food packets for children. Earlier, before we went on lockdown, it was given at the school, and it is a fresh meal. Now they are providing the packed meal. So I just, for an experiment thing, I went and got this packet from the school. So you can see what are the items they are giving. Even during COVID lockdown, this is for one child. Like 2 packets of milk, fruits. Fruits include even cherries, orange, apple, cheese. So in a normal day, a typical American child would eat most of this stuff. So they are still continuing to give these through schools, and things did not stop even with our lockdown, but the approach how they give these food has changed. Earlier it was in the school cafeteria, and now it's all packed, and it is very much distributed through, like we drive the car, we get our windows open, and the person would deliver this packet to us. 2 years back when I was in India, I went to the school and I noticed what is happening at the midday meal. So in that program, people were getting eggs, people were getting dal rice and everything. But when I asked some of my NGO friends what is happening today, it is not resumed yet, and still it is not. Still, the children are out of school, so the midday meal program is not yet resumed. So you can see the difference between both a developed country and a developing country. We are still continuing to have some support for children, whether they are disabled or non-disabled. They are giving some kind of support. But here, the mechanism has stopped, and they don't have. We don't know. We are yet to find out what kind of nutritional deficiencies, what kind of impact it's going to have in their lives. I don't know how long this things will go on. So the data is missing, and we need to know more about this. So to recap the state initiatives from the globe, state initiatives from India and from the United States, most of the states, if you see in India also, they have allocated some funds to COVID-19. And the second one is special task force have been set up to meet up the needs of people who are inclusive of persons with disabilities. And you saw my friends, my own friends, and I don't know how many of you in this group are part of those kind of front line, but we see the involvement of rehabilitation professionals and social workers in front line. And the issue is, the only issue we see is monitoring and implementation of special assistance during COVID, and also the challenges in accessing the information and the data. So right now, there are not many data available, but still we are finding out the case studies, and we are kind of collecting samples from different NGOs. So my work is not just collecting data from India, it's all across the globe. So what is happening, what is in the ground? So we are trying as much possible to collect data, but still things are not very clear from different countries. So now we look at the national level, what is happening. So in the news, you would see some. So the Indian, if you take a newspaper in India, you are seeing a man kills 48-year-old physically challenged son after he refuses to wear mask. I don't think any, in personal opinion, I don't think any father would kill a son. But what is underlying here is out of poverty, out of frustration during lockdown, because they don't have sources of income, this could have happened. It's like just a momentary thing that you could go and kill a person. So this is kind of a news. And we all, you all must have known this SBI and the AIMS issues. But in US, if you see the newspaper, there are more on fact-based evidences. For example, COVID-19 infections and deaths are higher among these intellectual disabilities. So if you see that, if I click that article and read it, there is a data. There it says in New York and Pennsylvania, how many COVID deaths have happened, how many children with disabilities are affected, how many persons with disabilities are affected, and how many have died, and why it is intellectual disabilities are high, because there are other reasons. Similarly, our federal government has released, because most of the Americans are teleworking, federal government has released how to handle employees and how to cope with this situation. So when you have a chance, you can just go through this sites and see how well they are doing things. I'm sure India is also doing a lot of things, but some other countries, we don't see this kind of information available for workforce. So now we can hear what Nandini is saying, and many of you know that Dr. Nandini is from West Bengal, and she is part of a larger disability initiatives. And let's hear few actions what she is trying to recommend to us.
So hello. The major issues that are here around COVID, basically, in terms of protection of rights of disabled people, majorly I see the impact of COVID in three ways. One is that the national directives which were issued to for the protection of persons with disabilities were in March itself, but most of these directives were not in accessible formats, and also it was not disseminated properly because the central government drew up these guidelines, but they transferred it to the state governments to translate and disseminate in the local languages. Now, most of the state governments, as far as I am aware, have not translated this or percolated the information down to the grassroots level population. So what has resulted is a entire atmosphere of fear among people about this corona, its spread, and disabled people not having access to information, and the other problems of not being able to maintain the social distance, of requiring a lot of caregiver support. So in that kind of a situation, it has become very difficult for disabled people to even access health services. And this is the second point that I want to make about quarantine, because most quarantine facilities were inaccessible. Therefore, a lot of disabled people lobbied for home quarantine, but at the level of home quarantine, people have been left to themselves. Finally, the major, most significant impact that COVID has made in terms of disabled people is to take away the rights of disabled people to their basic amenities, to food.
So what, due to time limitation, I'm just, you can view this videos later as well. What Dr. Nandini was saying was mainly, the rights are taken away, and especially even the basic need for food has been an issue. And she has been working on a working paper, which I read, which is very nicely done, which is also based on National Center for Promotion of Employment of Persons with Disabilities. They have produced an amazing report. Even within this 3 to 4 months, they have collected samples of 1,067 persons with disabilities, and they have produced a wonderful report, and which also you can see whatever they talked about, whatever Poundray talked about, whatever we saw the example from Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and whatever the national experts like Dr. Nandini said, it is basically like the first challenge is financial challenges. They are not able to meet the financial challenges. So 57% of the people in India, they very much represent this. So 57% have financial challenges, and 13% have access to essentials like food. We are not talking about internet issues here. The top first one is financial challenges, and the second one is food, and the third one you see is the access to healthcare. So these are there are other things which are coming down, but these are the major priorities for anybody who is living in a developing country. And it is also not very different from what we see in the United States. And you can see this. I would, since Dr. Machigowda is listening to this, I really appreciate what they have done is so good that within 3 months they could collect all the details from different parts of the country. If you have a chance, even though if you're a special educator, it's better to read that report to see what is happening in different parts of India. And they have very well documented all those smaller cases. Like, what we saw in the newspaper, they have put everything together and produced a wonderful report. Thank you, sir, for that. And so now we see the international perspective. What are the problems we see at national level? The Human Rights Report Watch interviewed Karen Meckel, who is legally blind, and she's self-quarantining at her home in Ontario, Canada, after potentially coming into contact with someone who tested positive for COVID-19. She said she faced obstacles in accessing information from Ontario's Ministry of Health as an online slideshow about staying healthy during COVID-19 outbreak was not compatible with screen reading or magnification technology. So look at the issue. The issues are the same. How am I going to access? I don't get access to health information. But somebody who is living in Canada has a problem with their technology. We are not talking about, oh, I'm not getting my medicines. We are talking about, I don't have enough information about health during COVID-19, how to take care of myself. So the issues are the same, access to health, but the dimension is very different in a developed country. So now I will go back to my professor. I closely work with him. And if you watch CNN, BBC, he is every other 2 weeks, he will be on the air. So when I asked him, can you send me a message? From your perspective, what do you think the status of persons with disabilities and their rights? He has sent me a message, and through this presentation, I thank him very much for sending this message to me.
Among those who are always most vulnerable in American society are those who are held awaiting trial. Many of those suffer from disabilities, mental disabilities, in some cases physical disabilities. And what's more, the risk that they face having those disabilities is compounded by the fact that they are unable to go home because they cannot afford cash bail or money bail. The cash bail problem is one in which individuals are held awaiting trial not because they are deemed to pose a risk of danger to their community or a risk of flight before trial. Instead, it's simply because they can't afford a preset fee schedule. Now, many of those who are unable to afford that, indeed many of those who are at least suspected of committing a crime in the first place, are suffering from some sort of disability. That contributes to the fact that they may not have the funds necessary, in essence, to buy their own freedom. That's always a risk, but it's particularly a risk right now as a global pandemic continues to rage. Those who are held awaiting trial are being held in exactly the opposite of the conditions that medical professionals are urging on the rest of us. Instead of social distancing and isolation, they are in tight quarters held with others who may well have disabilities of their own. That's ripe for the disease to spread. It's ripe to catch the virus. And so this is an opportunity once and for all to end cash bail, money bail, to ensure that those who await trial are held only because there's been an individualized determination that they pose a danger to their community or a risk of flight before trial. That would take into account the...
So what I was saying, now if you, even for me, when he sent me the message, what is he talking about? He is talking about people who are in the prison even before they are convicted as criminals. He's talking about people who are there because they don't have to come up, people with disabilities who are inside the prisons. And there are not much documentation on that. And right now what we know about is the lockdown murder, which has happened in Tuticorin. When things goes, it becomes sensational when it was a father and son, and I do empathize that situation. But 4 months back, like even before this murder was happened in February, there was a person with a disability in the same police station. He was beaten by the same police, and there was a report which says he was beaten on his part where the disability was there. So that was never mentioned in any media. Now, since we are collecting all the details, it's all coming out. So that is what I'm trying to say is we have issues, but what in United States may be different from, the dimension may be different from a country like India, like in a developing country. So it is not only India, it's all, most of the developing countries have this same issue. So in order to have a global perspective, the United Nations have produced a policy briefing which focuses on major 4 things. One is ensure mainstreaming of disability in all COVID-19 response and recovery together with targeted actions. Ensure accessibility of information, facilities, services, and programs in the COVID-19 response and recovery. Ensure meaningful consultation with and active participation of persons with disabilities and the representative organizations in all stages of COVID-19 response and recovery. Establish accountability mechanism to ensure disability inclusion in the COVID-19 response. So when they say accountability mechanism is, there are so many money involved in this all across the globe. So government has invested on crores and crores of money, millions of dollars. US, it's trillions of dollars. So what they are trying to say is establish a mechanism, how the money is spent, how whether it has reached the persons with disability. So we saw these grassroots level perspective, state, national, and to conclude, it's also reflected on international organizations like Disability Rights Watch. Let's see what Jane has to offer.
There are over 1 billion people with disabilities worldwide. They face marginalization, discrimination, and barriers in accessing essential services, even in normal circumstances. Many of these issues will become even more acute during the COVID-19 pandemic. Governments must urgently ensure that their response to the COVID-19 pandemic is inclusive of people with disabilities. Information about the pandemic and protection measures should be produced in a variety of formats accessible for people with different types of disabilities and distributed widely. With school closures, online learning, and other methods to continue education should be inclusive of children with different types of disabilities. People with disabilities often rely on community services for food, medicine, and support in the tasks of daily living. Government should ensure continuity of these services. Without them, people with disabilities may be at risk of being forced into institutions. In institutions, there are over 1 billion people with Governments must urgently ensure that their response to the COVID-19 pandemic is inclusive of people with disabilities. Information about the pandemic and protection measures should be produced in a variety of formats accessible for people with different types of disabilities and distributed widely. With school closures, online learning, and other methods to continue education should be inclusive of children with different types of disabilities.
So I leave it for you to watch the video, but basically whatever we talked so far, access to health, access to information, access to employment, access to education were the main points where Jane covered. And in order to coming back to our tying into the topic, to protect the rights of persons with disability, from whatever the reports we receive, whatever we see in the field, the advocacy in action should be, following the recommendation, the advocacy in action should be everyone's responsibility. We just cannot put everything on government. So we should, it is more like, now we have to see, we do not know what is in future, but now we have to see this as a humanitarian approach. And if you see anybody who's suffering, just help. And governments are trying to accommodate the persons with disabilities in their agenda, but the implementation needs to be monitored and improved. It looks like, we saw some example from Tamil Nadu, and there are newspaper articles which talks about how much state has allocated, how much nations have allocated. We see that. So we have to also see how it is reaching persons with disabilities. And as the United Nations policy briefing said, whatever the efforts taken by the government should be inclusive of all persons with disabilities. Any program, anything, don't leave the persons with disabilities. And together The fight against COVID should be a collaborative effort of DPOs, NGOs, local, state, and national governments, and international organizations like WHO and World Bank. It should be a partnered effort, not just single entity's effort right now. We can talk about aftermath of this COVID-19. We can talk about more about how we have to face situations like this in future. But currently, it should be a partnered effort to meet the needs of people with disability. It is very important to see from a humanitarian approach, rather, just like when we say advocacy, we only remember putting placards and going on a rally. Those are good means. We don't say don't do it. But right now, you are talking about basic need for food. But right now, we are talking about, okay, 20 minutes, wash hands. Where is the water? So basic things have to be met. Then we can talk about rest of the thing. But at the same time, we don't deny every right is very important. And we have to try to protect every rights of the persons with disabilities. As a special educators and people who are involved in this profession, what you can do is maximum, you can ensure, call a family who is one of your students and ask them how they are doing and what are things they can, do, what you can help. We are putting our money in religious organizations, temples, churches. Now we give money to those organizations. But our own children with disabilities are suffering. Why don't we just help? So right now you can do as much as possible and take care of your students and take care of your fellow, whomever it is, neighbors, whomever it is. It should be approached in a different way, and things would fall in place when this basic needs like food, shelter, clothing, water, those issues are covered. Then rest of the things would fall in place. And whatever the experts said, access to data is more important, and information, whatever information you can pass it to the families, that is more important. So that I conclude my presentation. And to come back, I work at this university. It's a beautiful campus, Georgetown. If you know Bill Clinton, he is the former president of the United States. He is one of the alumni of this university. And we have a beautiful location, and our majority of buildings are located in and around the Capitol building and near to the Supreme Court. And if you happen to visit DC, don't miss the opportunity to come to the university, and we would be happy to show you around, and we would be happy to talk about policies, politics, and what needs to be done in developing and developed countries. And with that, I conclude presentations. And if you have questions, you please let me.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes.
Yes. Ma'am, that was really a thought-provoking session, ma'am. With regarding to the questions, we have your opinion with regard to Dr. Crescenta ma'am's view. Shall I read it out for you? Hello, ma'am. Hello.
I can hear you, but I see there is a delay, technology issue here. Anyway, I can do. Crescenta ma'am, I have a question. I don't see the chat window here.
Shall I read it for you?
Yes, please. Thank you.
I do agree with the facilities and provisions for persons with disabilities is much ahead comparing to developing countries. As you say, the dimension of problem differs from country to country. But if you see the morbidity and mortality rate compared to US and India vary to a great extent. Isn't that a good one? Might be with regard to services, we are behind. But for 2020, I feel our lives is profit we ought to have. He has asked for your opinion in this regard.
Thank you, Dr. Crescenta ma'am, for this question. And I'm not a great expert to answer your question, but I can just give my experience. What happened here was all the testings, all the data are up to date. The district has data, the state government has data about every citizen. We do have, Aadhaar card is now in place. The disability ID cards database is available. but there is a missing gap in this, how we report this mortality and morbidity rates. Because in US, every case is considered as equal and important, and when they come to hospital, they take their approach is more systemic, and they do the research practice, and then they come to the field. For example, I do not know some of the confidential information. I cannot share it in the platform, but I can mention you, before we went to the lockdown, even in January, the government was, the research institutes like many of the universities were collecting data on how to process the whole thing before we even go to a lockdown. So there are background research have happened. So government is doing phase by phase thing. So you are getting all the data, like, this death rates. We report a high number of death rates, and that is because the data, and that is because the strategy they are using here is more a systemic approach. And whereas in a developing country, we follow the model from a developed country. So by the time we learn and implement, it takes time. So we would have missed some cases. We wouldn't have recorded something. So, and there could be research studies are going on. So I won't be able to share some of the confidential information regarding those research.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. We have one more question here. How do you network with professionals in grassroots level?
Are you asking me in India or United States, or?
In your place, ma'am, in your place.
So grassroots level, basically it is through organizations. There are different NGOs. In Indian context, it's NGOs and disabled people's organizations are there. So we have good communication, and we participate in their discussions, and so we get to know all these reports, and it comes to us. And there is I don't think I have a network in all the 50 states in the United States, but some of the states, we only take samples from out of 50. I may have contacts with 20 states. So we collect samples from those 20, and we take it for our research purposes.
Thank you, ma'am. You have proved once again as a good researcher, bringing out the statistical data and evidence-based picture of challenges faced by persons with disabilities all around the world, and also the recommendations for rehab professionals to support people with disabilities. Thank you for sharing your
and this is an amazing opportunity, and I've, we all are learning. We learned something from you today, how to meet in Google and present ourselves. We use Zoom here, so it's a great opportunity, and I thank each and every professors here from Rehab, and there are great special educators and professionals around here. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And there was, I heard that there are some time lag in my delivery, but still, I'm so happy that I was able to interact with you and get some ideas across. It doesn't have to be education.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It was a wonderful
Thank you,
Dr.
sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lakshmi. That was a very interesting, impeccable presentation. You proved always you are on the top. Yes. So the others set a bar high, and you are up on the ladder. Yes. With a lot of videos, and your evidence-based sharing was really very interesting, and you made us very clear with your presentation. Now we move on to the valediction. Dr. Nachiketa is in line with us. Participants, now we have the valedictory function. Over to Ms. Angel Selvaraj for the comparing for the valediction.
Welcome to you, sir. Dr. Nachiketa, sir. We are happy to have you with us. Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. When prayer becomes your habit, miracles become your lifestyle. I call upon Dr. Lima Subinya, Assistant Professor, PG and Research Department of Rehabilitation Science, Holy Cross College, to lead us in prayer.
It is bowed on our heads in prayer. I'll praise the name of God with a song. I'll magnify him for thanksgiving. Psalm 69, verse 30. Our gracious, loving Heavenly Father, we praise and thank you for all the support you have rendered to us in these 2 days. Dear Father, you have blessed all of us beyond our expectation that this 2 days webinar is a great success. We also thank you, Lord, for the good health and strength you have given to all our organizers, technical team, and all the participants to finish this webinar with no interruption. Your mighty hand supported us, and your unfailing grace abounded us through these 2 days. We'll be counting our blessings one by thanking you now and forevermore. In your matchless name, we pray and give thanks to our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, ma'am, for your meaningful prayer. Small cheer and great welcome makes a merry feast. I request Dr. Nahalakshmi, Associate Professor, PG and Research Department of Rehabilitation Science, to welcome the gathering.
Good evening to all. With grateful heart, we thank the benign presence of God and His guidance. At the outset, I would like to appreciate our participants who have registered across borders. During this time of pandemic, affording to spend time for an academic pursuit, this is really remarkable and deserves all praise. We have been together disseminating knowledge, evolving strategies, sharing new insights, gathering latest trends, generating new ideas for almost 18 hours, spanning over the last two days for the welfare of persons with special needs. I deem it a great honor and proud privilege to welcome Dr. Sister Christina Bridget, dynamic principal and the guiding star of the college for this valedictory function. I'm glad to welcome Dr. Sister Lourdes Mary, head of the department, who is our source of inspiration and motivation. I also welcome my beloved, vibrant colleagues, scholarly resource persons, and learned participants. It's a rare, happy moment to extend a warm welcome to Professor Nachiketa Rao, Director, National Institute for Empowerment of Persons with Multiple Disabilities, Chennai. Sir, truly your hard work and perseverance are amazing and brought you to great heights. Congratulations and happy wishes for taking charge of your new office as a Director of National Institute for Empowerment of Persons with Multiple Disabilities. He has almost 2 decades of experience in teaching and rehabilitating the persons with disabilities. His publication credits include 14 papers in international journals, 9 papers in national journals, and 2 books which were well received and appreciated. He has been a resource person in national conferences, numbering almost 90. He has also guided 20 master-level dissertations for PG in Speech and Hearing, MTech, and MCA. He is also associated with the development of a low-cost multi-use hearing aid, which received the Shushrat Award, given by Department of Science and Technology in 2011. He has also initiated free distribution of behind-the-ear hearing aids into the Government of India ADIP scheme in 2013. He is also an examiner, paper setter for 5 premier universities. As a Director of National Institute for Empowerment of Persons with Visual Disabilities, Sir was instrumental in bringing many radical changes, organized many webinars, virtual classes, and sports events, and so many things for the welfare of the student community. Sir, it's a real honor to have you to this FDP program, international webinar on challenges and choices of persons with special needs during COVID-19 action and advocacy for the valedictory address. We are very sure to have a remarkable session which will be lively and thought-provoking. I once again welcome you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your words of welcome.
Fine. Thank you, madam. Respected dignitaries who have been connected by the webinar because of COVID-19. Everything has a positive side to it. And I was hearing the webinar, and it was nice to hear people address about different challenges and the solutions to them. So the last part of the day, so I'll be just putting up one slide and my talk in some time. Okay, there is some issues in uploading the presentation, so I'll just speak it out now. The issue which we all are addressing is that how do we reach persons with disabilities? What are the specific facilities that are to be made, right? That's the basic concern. The question is, we have heard about this term universal design. It started up from universal design to architecture, in which there was a rule that we should be making up buildings which is accessible not only to the so-called normal population, but also to people with varying needs. May it be a person who is locomotor disabled, may it be a person who is intellectually challenged, may it be a person who is visually challenged, may it be a person who is a child, who is a woman, who is a pregnant woman, or any type of person. So the term is universal design. What does it mean exactly? It means that we involve everyone. Now, what does that everyone include? If we see the bell-shaped curve, then there is a mean and there is a standard deviation, right? Plus minus 1 standard deviation is 68%, and then 2 is something more. So we say anybody who falls into this particular normalcy of mean plus minus 1 standard deviation, that is 68%, is the so-called normal, and the rest of them may be poor in a particular skill or may be exceptional in a particular skill, are exceptional people. They may be persons with disability on one side and they may be gifted on the other side. So that is what we encounter when we address the entire population. So that's the population. What is the issue? The issue is that most of the facilities which are being done, may it be physical infrastructure or may it be this digital infrastructure, where accessibility is an issue. For example, if I do not have a speaking screen, then I cannot use the Google Meet. I was the director of National Institute for the Visual Disabilities, Dehradun, till the last month. So anybody who would be opening up a computer, actually the screen starts speaking up, and a person with disability can use the computer because it is made accessible for the person with disability. If the screen doesn't speak out, then they cannot use out the computer or the laptop or the mobile phone. So it's about getting facilities accessible to the person with disabilities. So if there is COVID-19, what do we do so that facilities get accessible? The only challenge is, the only answer is that things should be made in universal design. When do you start making things in universal design? Is it a specific practice for the person with disabilities, or is it a practice which is a rule of thumb? Nowadays, it is a practice which is a rule of thumb. National building codes do not approve construction of buildings if they are not accessible in nature. That is, if they do not include in all the features. That means buildings have to be made in universal design. Similarly, websites have to be accessible in nature. For that, what do we need? We need to fix up our identity, who we are. Now, this is the Indian turn which I am giving. And now, we have been listening to the majority of the Western style of addressing things. Now, I am giving an Indian turn to this. My topic is family and society. And because I stay in India, I work in India, I carry the legacy of 10,000-year-old, I'll be giving an Indian turn to it. The moment you extend your identity, which is known as ahamkar, that's not the ego. The moment you extend your identity beyond me, my body, you extend it out, because the air which is here now is actually a part of me. So even this air is me. The people, the trees around is me, and the set of people around me is also me. So if I extend my identity, the concept of me, to everybody, naturally, I'll think of a design which is accessible in nature. What does it mean? It means that, for example, if I have a child who is 10 feet tall, what do I do? Either I go to a medical model where I say 5'8" is okay, yeah, 5'8" to 6 is okay. So we have facilities to chop off legs. So we'll chop off legs and make him 5'8" or 5'9" would be good. That's the medical model of addressing out things. The other means would be I buy him a 10 feet long court and train him to play basketball. So I am playing on his strength rather than changing him. That's the social model in which we work for person with disabilities. So disabilities, nowadays known as Divyangata, is under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment and not under the Ministry of Health. The first issue is that addressing needs for people with disability should be looked out through the social model and not through the medical model. The moment you start looking it through the social model, then you start bringing up adaptation in different designs and facilities of the society so as to include children. When do you start doing it? You start doing it when you extend your identity beyond yourself. You start extending your identity beyond yourself, and if it suits me, then that is the thing we should not be talking about. Can we give some examples? Just one example, international example. We all have heard about Helen Keller, madam, right? 27th was her birthday. This 27th. She was a deafblind lady. Now, she had everything okay till 18 months of age. Then she had either scarlet fever or meningitis, because of which she lost out everything. The moment she lost out her sight and hearing, she forgot out her language and lost connection with the environment. She was very agitated, had meltdowns as well as temper tantrum. Yesterday evening, there was a presentation which wonderfully explained the difference between tantrums and meltdowns. So she had both of them. She, being from a good family, a wealthy family, a lady known as Annie Sullivan was called from Perkins School for the Blind, and she started training her. What did she do? Did she bring back her eyes? No. Did she bring back her hearing? No. All she did was she used a alternate accessible modality by which she could imbibe language into her. What was that? If I cannot see and if I cannot hear, then I have this particular sense of touch which is left out. So Annie Sullivan madam did what? When she was talking, she used the technique known as Tadoma. That was not developed that time. She started working upon it, in which one finger was placed on the throat, other on her lips, the third on the nasal part. This was Helen Keller's hand. So when she used to speak, she used to try giving hints and cues to Helen Keller madam regarding what it is like speaking and what it is like hearing, what is language per se. Then she used another technique of finger spelling. For example, if this is A, this is B, this is the hand of Helen Keller, this is the hand of Annie Sullivan. She used to finger spell and write on her palm like this. So she is using an alternate mode by which she made language accessible to Helen Keller madam. We know of the famous instance where she took Helen Keller madam to a hand pump, placed one hand below the water, pumped out water to her. Helen Keller was feeling out the water falling into her hand, and parallelly, Annie Sullivan madam, using the other hand of Helen Keller, spelled W-A-T-E-R, water. She spelled water to the other hand. And Helen Keller madam in her autobiography writes down, I felt liberated. First time I realized the beauty of language. And we all know, she was the first deafblind lady to earn a BA degree. 14 books, 44 countries of the world. She came to India too, met all the presidents. Beethoven used to play violin for her, she used to feel it. Alexander Graham Bell was her tutor. We all know that, right? Moral of the story. Moral of the story is that if we start making things accessible to persons with disabilities in their basic design, I give example of the laptop and the mobile phone and person with disability for the visual disabilities. So they would be having a talking laptop and a mobile, because of which they can use them. If we make access, if we use technology to make information accessible to people with disability, do not do it separately. That is possible when we extend identity ourselves. We don't see as and not as a separate identity. Only then it will be possible. Has it ever been done in India thousands of years? You must have heard of the quotation for many organizations. Sa vidya ya vimuktaet. That is vidya which liberates. Liberates from what? From our physical boundaries. From the feeling of I, me, myself. You must have heard of a prayer which is in universal design. I'll end up with this prayer. It says, no, Sahena vavatu. Let both of us be together. Sahenau bhunattu. Let both of us nourish ourselves. Sahaviryam karavavahai. Let both of our energies increase. Tejasvina adhitamastu. Let it increase day by day. Ma vid vishavahai. Let there be no conflict amongst us. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Prayer in universal design. So they're not speaking about one person, two person. They are addressing the entire thing. So I think we need to bring about a change in our mindset. The way we educate, nothing like this is taught to us in our school. To educate, once we start doing this, we start accepting our people as they are. Once we start accepting our people as they are, and we don't have to have separate, isolated, isolated dharna presentations for rights for disabled, rights for women, rights for this, rights for that. We need not have that. There needs to be a fundamental change at the level of identity, which has to come at the level of education. All of you are educators, professors, teaching various places. I am very thankful that this wonderful webinar has been done, and I have been rather ordered. I get the privilege to address all of you. With all great regards, I thank all of you, all the national and international participants, and the key to inclusion lies in India. It happens here first. Because for 10,000 years, we have been doing it. We have forgotten in between, but we can revive it out. The moment we extend our identities, we all become one. There is no separation, seclusion, and there is universal design. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Professor Nagalakshmi. Thank you, Sister Luz Mary. Many, many thanks. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being with us and sharing your experience, your expertise. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure, ma'am.
Thank you, sir, for your simple, clear, and highly informative talk. Feedback is a breakfast to champions and keys to improvement. Here, I request Dr. Frances Anancia to give her feedback regarding the 2 days International FDP webinar on behalf of the participants.
Thank you, Angel. Blessed day to all. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Can everybody pin Anancia Albert? Can the participants pin Anancia Albert to your screen? Yes, Anu.
Blessed day to all. Foremost, I thank the organizers for offering this opportunity to share my impressions. Rather than saying feedback, I wish to say it as the inputs that I gained through this International Faculty Development webinar. There are 4 major insights that enlightened and imprinted me through this webinar. Number 1, to position God first in all that you do, and the rest will fall in its place. With reference to the biblical verse, Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not into thine own understanding. In all the ways acknowledging him, and he shall direct thy path. Yes, I could feel the presence and the gracious divine blessings of the Lord all through this webinar, especially whenever you had technical issues. Number two, I could visualize the value of teamwork with such an amazing, energetic, enthusiastic brand of organizers who took to every minute details in the groundwork and effectuated it so very well. Be it the top choice of topic, choosing the resource persons, printing the brochures, the email communication, feedback questions, all were meticulously taken care. Thank you, organizers, for making this webinar very inventive and also for radiating the positive vibe in us. Number three, to make a dual use of the available opportunities and resources. Special thanks for equating this webinar to 20 CRE points. And I also appreciate the person who conceived this idea. Last but not the least, whatever you do, give your best to what you do. What I learned from each of these ingenious speakers is, you have done a great, amazing job, each of you in your own very way, and have done justice to the topic. I would like to personally say in a word or two about your presentation. Mrs. Beulah Sundarajan, you are extremely professional. Mrs. Elsie Bramazan, your session was heart to heart. Dr. Nageshwari, you were very empirical and pragmatic. Dr. Sabita Pillai was a mastermind. Miss Rebecca Ranjani, you were a zestful speaker. Dr. Frigita, you were very informative and high-tech. Dr. Amala Viviani Rajan, you were crystal clear with your sublime slides. Miss Jodi, you were very simple and humble. Mrs. Jnana Pumbave, your session was exemplary input and presentation. And finally, Dr. Lakshmi Devi filled the presentation with your research inputs. Thank you, research persons. It was really a truly enriching experience. With all these 4 takeaway messages, I think we would be able to put in a better work. And finally, I wish that the department continues to organize similar webinars with its resourceful alumni spread globally, both nationally and internationally. Hope to meet you all soon back. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your words of appreciation. I also request Mrs. Shameen Banu from Dubai to give her feedback regarding the webinar.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. Yeah, I'm Shami Banu. I'm working as a Research and Training Associate in Allur Rehabilitation and Welfare Association for People of Determination. I can proudly say I'm one of the alumni of the Department of Rehabilitation Science. I would like to extend my thanks for taking my opportunity to share the feedback. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible. You can continue.
Of this international seminar on challenges and choices
1 minute,
of
Shamim, 1 minute. Participants, kindly pin on the name Shamim Bano. Thank you.
Shall I continue, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You can continue.
Yeah, thank you for providing me this opportunity to share the feedback of this international seminar on challenges and choices of person with special needs during COVID-19 action and advocacy. It has become a new normal now that all of us are from living room, joining with online seminars and workshops to update and develop our skills during this pandemic demand. I must say, Holy Cross College Rehabilitation Science FDP is one of the seminar which I totally enjoyed and rejuvenated myself by connecting with my fellow rehabians, seniors, and my beloved teachers. The organizing committee has meticulously structured the schedule, including identification of eminent speakers across the globe who are experts in their field. The experiences and the sharing knowledge of these speakers brings the limelight on special needs and their concerns, challenges, and evidence-based approaches that we as a professional need to think and must work on. I could see the overwhelming positive response from all the participants in the chat box, and it reflects how efficiently the session was conducted and question and answers were addressed. We had some technical glitches in between, but it was effectively resolved by the organizing team that helped us to have a flawless seminar talks. The topics that were focused in the presentation were very much relevant to our present scenario. I found it really very insightful, and all the 12 invited lectures left me with the strong takeaways and learning outcomes from this 2 days international seminar. I strongly believe each one of us would have the same feeling. And let us implement those strategies and knowledge that we have gained from this 2 days seminar to our parents and the lovable students to extend them a positive support that is very much need of this hour. We would like to forward more virtual seminars in future from our Department of Rehabilitation Science. Thank you once again, ma'am. Thank you to all.
Thank you, Shami ma'am, for your valuable feedback. Dear participants, let us have a quick recap of this 2 days international FTP webinar on challenges and choices of persons with special needs during COVID-19, action and advocacy.
Excuse me, the chief guest and the participants. We are getting ready with the recap. Meanwhile, we'll have the felicitation. I think Juliet can play that on.
Yes, ma'am.
कहाँ चली गई थी पिछले गेम में पिछले गेम क्या हाँ पिछले गेम कहाँ चली गई थी ये बताओ
Anika.
So we are having the felicitation of our resource persons. So just a few slides.
Thank you, Juliet. This felicitation was prepared by Ms. Elizabeth David, who was here with us as a professor in the department for more than 30 years. So thank you, Ms. Elsa, for this wonderful felicitation. As we get ready for the next item on our agenda, I would request participants pan-India, if you have any views to share in this platform, please, you can unmute your audio and speak on this platform, please. You can tell about your views, your positives, your suggestions. This will help us improve ourselves. Audience, participants, please do join in. You can unmute your audio and you can speak. We have a lot of people writing in the chat box. Yes, there's somebody here. Yes, please go ahead. We have a lot of positive opinions coming from the chat box. Wonderful experience. Thank you, organizers. I'm sure all of you are able to see it. I do not need to read everything, but if you would like to voice your opinions, you're most welcome. Pavai, I can see you. Would you like to share something other than what you shared?
Yes, ma'am. That's why I was just unmuting myself.
Yes, I know. I could sense it on your face. Yes,
it was a very fantastic presentation that was put together. I just wanted to thank all the staff and faculty and the students behind this. I know how much of hard work and so much difficulty you guys would have like experience, and still you made it very successful. It was such a wonderful experience for us to share and also learn from each other. But everything went so smooth, and it was systematic, I would say. There was people attending to the chat sessions, there was people who were attending to the live sessions, and immediate replies, immediate help was given to every single question or request that was made on either of the chat boxes. Thank you, Sister Lord Mary, for such a wonderful thought that you guys put this together. And we are looking forward to many more sessions like this, but with other participants from India. And I wanted to listen to all of the staff who work there, all my friends, all my colleagues. So thank you so much. I am so excited, and this is just a wealth of information that was given to us just for free. I mean, I appreciate that there were so many participants listening, and I want everybody to take whatever they understood or what they benefited from it and put it to use. Just make use of the information and make it success for your wherever you work or whatever endeavor that you do. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Pavai, for those wonderful words. We do acknowledge that we put in a lot of effort to get this done. This was also a new experience for us, and I'm sure many of us are experiencing this online platform for the first time. But there was a lot of backup and support that we were able to get. I can see Joyce's face over there. Joyce Mary, would you like to say a few words? Yes, please, Joyce. Come on. Yeah, can you just show your face up a bit? Yes, please. Yes, Joyce Mary.
Okay, ma'am, is it visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for this opportunity to learn with you, all the professors and Department of Rehabilitation and Head of the Department of Rehabilitation. I'm very proud of you all, ma'am, and happy to see you all again. And what my என்னோட சந்தோஷம் வந்து ரொம்ப அதிகமா இருக்கு because I couldn't express my happiness through the language of English or Tamil. ஆனா ரொம்ப சந்தோஷப்படுறோம். Because of this platform is never we will for in future, I don't know whether we will get or not, but it is a wonderful session because all the speakers are well and good and very clear content, and the topics are very good and very informative and excellent presentation too. It's very colorful also, and we are very lucky to having a Department of Rehabilitation Science and all the professors. Because of you only, we are still shining like a stars and a moon and everywhere in various countries, in India, in every state, in every places. Thank you very much for your cooperations and your motivational speech and your shining faces and your brightness of thoughts and everything, ma'am. Is it clear, ma'am?
Yes, Joyce.
Yes, Joyce.
Yes, Joyce, very
Yes,
much.
thank you for your words of appreciation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
That in future, definitely we need another webinar session also. Kindly visit your, kindly send your visit invitation through our mail, ma'am. So we always welcome that.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your words.
Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you for your
Those
words
were
of
nice words
appreciation.
from your heart. May we have any participant from another?
Yes, this is Babu Rangarajan from Salem, Tamil Nadu. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm working for AP Medical Center and Hospital. And it was a blessing. It was a blessing to attend this last 2 days. And we are also working with special children. A lot of takeaways from this 2 days webinar. And I'm surprised to see all the faculties who are sharing the experience of alumni of Holy Cross. While I'm seeing before this seminar, I didn't know that they're alumni. Very, very well presented and a lot of informative. Thank you for that wonderful seminar which you organized. I feel blessed to participate in this. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your words of appreciation.
Thank you for acknowledging all our resource persons who are our illustrious alumni who have finished their Masters in Rehabilitation Science from the portals of this department. So thank you, and we are blessed that you have a lot to take back after these 2 days. Thank you so much. Can we have anybody else other than our alumni from any other states?
Ma'am, may I speak?
Yes, please. May I know your name?
I'm Karishma from New Delhi.
Yes, Karishma. Please go ahead.
I really appreciate the collaboration and the sincere efforts taken by the host and all the tremendous work. It's proven beyond doubt that learning, and it's a learning experience from all the experts from all over world. And it's a blessing that I am a part of this webinar today. I'm impressed with the important work and sharing from all the senior faculty and their findings and opinions. It was really a product of diligence. Thank you so much to everybody.
Thank you, Karishma. What are you working as?
I'm working as a special educator and a counselor in St. Francis D. Sill School, Janakpuri.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are very happy that you've taken back a good message.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Is there anybody else who would like to speak a few words?
Yes, ma'am, I would like to say.
Yes, may I know your name?
Yeah, ma'am, this is Meenu Agarwal.
Meenu Agarwal. Yes, Meenu, go ahead.
Ma'am, I'm from Ghaziabad.
Yeah,
I'm from Ghaziabad, Uttar Pradesh. And I am practicing as a school counselor, also as a rehab psychologist with a couple of schools as a consultant.
You can unmute your video and show yourself. Meenu, ma'am.
Sure.
Please unmute your video.
Right, ma'am.
Yes,
Am I visible, ma'am?
Yes, very much.
Okay, so I'm from Uttar Pradesh. This is Ghaziabad. So with this program, I have learned a lot. There was so much. There was a flood of the information, and I was writing down the things. I was also trying to ask questions and accommodate with my own previous learning. So this was really a good platform to learn from the experts, and I wish that we have more of such programs. So
Sure.
whenever it happens,
Definitely, yes.
I would love to be a part of this.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you for
do have-
organizing them.
Thank you, Meenu. I'm sure because you've been a very good student, I think you will top the test that we have conducted today and yesterday. So hopefully, yes. Thank you, Meenu. God bless your work. May we have somebody else joining?
Hello. Can I
Yes,
say
please.
something?
Yes, please. May I know your name, please?
Yeah, SB Day, Shubhobrato Day from Shillong, Meghalaya.
What name are you signed in, please?
Shubhobrato Day.
Shubho.
SB Day.
Yes.
Shubho. As it's pronounced
Okay.
Shubho.
Okay. You can unmute your video also.
Yeah. And
Yes,
actually,
go ahead.
I'm working as a inclusive education coordinator in the RAISE project, Regional
Yes.
Action for Inclusive Education in Northeast. So I would like to extend my thanks to the Holy Cross College and the organizers therein for conducting such a
Just a
beautiful
minute.
program.
Just a minute.
Yes,
Can you
yes.
unmute your video also?
Show yourself, sir. We like to see your face.
Okay, can
Yeah.
you see
Thank
me?
you so much.
Yes, thank you, thank
Can
you.
you see
Yes,
me?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. So I would like to thank all of you as organizers. And this 2 days has been a really good insight. And I did not join this just for the CRE part of it actually, but thank God that I did also, because I gained so much from these 2 days. All your resource persons were really, really great. And I would like to thank also Miss Anita Alexander from Christopher Blended Mission, who gave me the information that you all were having such a wonderful program. So,
yes.
Signing off, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Anita is also our student, our old student.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
And it's really helped me because we work with children with, all types of disabilities. And we have them in our project. So it's a great help. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we are very pleased that you are taking home a lot of information. May we have anybody else from any other state?
Good evening, madam.
Yes, please. Your name?
Myself, Malik Mohideen, madam. I am from Andhra Pradesh, madam.
Yes, Malik Mohideen from Andhra Pradesh. Yes, please.
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, your voice is breaking.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, please.
Madam,
We can hear
myself,
you.
Malik Mohideen, madam.
Yeah, what
Working
name have
as
you
special
signed in?
educator.
With what
Syed
name?
Malik.
Malik
Yeah,
Syed
madam.
Malik.
Syed Malik Mohideen, madam.
Malik
Hello.
Mohideen. Okay.
Sheila,
Yeah, please
Malik
go ahead, but your
next to your name, Malik
Syed,
Mohideen.
ma'am. Syed. Syed Malik.
Syed Malik Mohideen.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
madam.
Yes.
Syed Malik Mohideen. Working as resource person under Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan, Prakasham district, Andhra Pradesh, madam. Hello.
Yes,
Sir,
please go
ahead.
ahead.
This webinar course is very useful to me, madam. While working in the field, madam, I am working for a disabled person, madam, for the last 14 years, madam. This webinar is useful, very useful to me, madam, at the field level, madam. I need more to be added this, madam, like these courses, madam.
Okay, sir. We will inform. Thank you for your words.
Sure,
Thank
sir.
you,
We
thank
have
you.
your address. We have your address with us, and we will get back to you. Is there
Hello.
anybody else who would like to share?
Yes, ma'am. Hello.
Yes. May I know your name?
Yes,
Hello.
sir.
I am from West Bengal, Mr. Arup Kumar Goswami.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Please. Yes, you can
please.
speak.
What name have you
I
signed
can
in?
speak.
Yes,
Arup,
what
go
name
ahead.
have you signed in?
Arup Kumar
Anup
Goswami.
Goswami.
Goswami Arup.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Goswami Arup.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Ma'am. Okay, ma'am. I am from West Bengal, Bankura district.
Okay.
I am a special educator and working as a principal and specialist since 1995. I just want to make a couple of comments that yes, I have from home.
Your audio is
I think,
breaking a bit. I think there's a bit of connectivity problem.
Yeah, ma'am, I am far away from my West Bengal.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
But it was actually, in short, ma'am, it was a great opportunity to learn from home, and we learn a lot from, and we can apply for our student in our daily work. Hello.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you. It was not very clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am. Yes, may I know your name?
I'm speaking Simran. I'm on the behalf of my overall team who is has joined here.
Yeah, may I
can
know your
name
name,
them that.
please?
My name is Simran Munjal.
Simran, Simran, ma'am, Sheila, ma'am, Simran.
Okay,
Can you
Simran.
show yourself, Simran? Show your face.
Sure, ma'am.
Yes, please.
On the behalf of my overall team, I would like to thank my team is overall connected here. Hello.
Yes, Simran, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Overall team along with me, we found it very informative. Like it was yet put in depth. Hello, can you hear, ma'am?
Simran, there's some
please
connectivity issue.
continue.
Your voice is breaking. There's some connectivity issue.
Maybe. Is it now? Is it now well?
And now it's okay. Yes, yes.
Yes, continue.
Yeah, like my overall team is here. I can name them. That is Vinod, Ruby Grace, Preeti, Neha. They all are over from me. So we just have joined. It was really informative, and we did found something very good, qualitative PPTs being presented.
Okay, Simran, thank you. Thank you for joining
Thank
us.
you. Thank you, Simran.
Ma'am, it's me, Rima. Can I talk now?
Yes, Rima.
Okay.
Yes,
Good evening.
Rima, please make it short.
Okay, ma'am. Even though we
Yes,
live in
Rima.
different parts of the world, this webinar connected us. This webinar helped us to update myself in our field. We are very lucky to have a wonderful panel of seniors with a great knowledge of experience in that field. The presentation was very crystal clear. I thank everyone from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thanks, Reena. Did you come because
Thank you,
Candy was
Rima.
here?
No, I think she was here for both the days.
Thanks, Reena.
She was here, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Because of
We hear
Candy.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Hello. Ma'am, can I take this opportunity?
Yes, please. May I know? Sudha? Yes, Sudha.
Yes, ma'am.
Come
I'm
on.
Sudha, ma'am.
Sudha, unmute your
Yes.
video also.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
I think
Sudha.
it's a very wonderful opportunity, ma'am. Thank you to see you all again. We saw all our professors and seniors and classmates. Thank you for this opportunity, ma'am. We learn a lot from this platform. Definitely we implement in our practice, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Good. God bless you, Sudha, for the amount of work
Thank
that
you,
you are doing. Very creative.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. Thank you.
Yes.
Hello, sister. Good
Sheila, ma'am, shall we wind up?
One or two more last feedbacks, and then we will go to the short video, and then we'll wind up, sister. May I know who this is?
Yes, ma'am. Maria Pinto.
From Mangalore.
It's not clear. Please show yourself.
Hello, from Mangalore.
Can you unmute your video, please? Yes. Yes, sister.
Good evening, sister. It was a wonderful session, very well organized, and all the faculty members, resource persons, they were very excellent. We gained a lot. Thank you, sister.
Thanks, sister. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
We will have just one last feedback.
Yes, may I speak, ma'am?
Yes, please. May I know who you are?
Yeah, my name is Khushbu Dubey. I'm from Ghaziabad, Uttar Pradesh.
For your taken effective class.
Yes, ma'am. The 2 days workshop was really very enriching, ma'am. What we are doing over here, in the past 2 days, we got to know about other places also, that how they are doing with the children with special needs there. And yes, there are a lot to learn. Definitely, we are going to incorporate all this learning in our teaching also. So that was really very wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kushbu.
Welcome.
Thank you, Kushbu. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Sheila, ma'am.
Hello, madam.
Yes.
Hello,
Yes,
madam.
sir. Yes, Malik, sir. Yes, sir.
One more thing,
Want to say
madam. Can we
something?
have the PPD? Can we have PPD copy in soft copy, madam? Mail.
Yeah, we
For
will mail to
evaluating
you,
the
sir.
certificate.
Yeah, we will
Yes.
mail all that to
Yes,
you
sir.
along with your certificates.
Yes.
We will mail all
Okay.
all the PPTs along with your certificates. Give us a week to 10 days time, sir.
Okay, madam. And madam,
Good evening,
one more
ma'am.
thing, madam.
Yes, who is
Sisters,
this?
please send us feedback link yesterday, sister. Because of this network, we could not get it.
Okay. Okay, so we are winding up this. We're winding up this feedback session. I now request Juliet Catherine to play the recap video. Over to Juliet. Participants, pin HCC Rehabilitation Science, HCC Rehab Science.
Yes, we have photo session at the end. Please wait. Participants, don't leave.
Say Agda.
Angel, you can take over the session from here. Angel?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the wonderful recap. The real gift of gratitude is that the more grateful you are, the more pleasant you become. I request Dr. Sister Luz Mary, Head, PG and Research Department of Rehabilitation Science, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening to one and all gathered here. Gratitude is the language of the heart. The roots of all goodness lie in the soil of appreciation. As the curtains draw a close to the 2 days FDP International Webinar, hosted by the PG and Research Department of Rehabilitation Science, Holy Cross College, it's my singular privilege to thank and acknowledge the great minds, the prayerful hearts, the visionary eyes, the powerful ears, the positive tongue, the miraculous hands, and the spirited legs that toiled hard to make this virtual event a reality. With a grateful heart and prayer on my lips, I thank the Lord Almighty for showering His benevolent graces for the successful conduct of this first time online event FDP. My profound thanks to our chief guest and special invitee of the valedictory function, Sri Nachigeta Rao, Director, NIPMED Chennai, who by his august presence and inspiring address drove in us the compassion to work for and with the differently abled, especially in this pandemic crisis, with a sense of commitment and goodwill. Thank you, sir, for sparing your precious time to be with us and share your expertise at the end of this 2 days event. Thank you very much, sir. We are not successful family because we work together, but we are successful family because we respect, trust, and care for each other. A very special thanks to our Holy Cross fraternity, especially our ever-inspiring secretary, Reverend Dr. Sister Niranjana Anthony Sami, our innovative principal, Reverend Dr. Sister Krishna Bridget, our mentor and guide, Reverend Dr. Sister Maria Kamalam, and all our sisters of the cross for their prayerful support and benevolence in giving us the ambience for the successful conduct of the international webinar. Thank you, dear sisters. I wish to profusely thank Dr. Subodh Kumar, Member Secretary, RCA Delhi, for his goodwill gesture in granting CRE status to the webinar. Sir, your generosity has added the face value to this academic event. One of the least of these brothers and sisters for me. Yes, these have been the watchwords that have inspired anonymous clan of with us all through these 2 days with your resourceful sessions. A big thank you to all of you. Alone we can do little, but together we can do much. Talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligent effort wins hearts. My faculty members of the Rehab family are thanked in a very special way for their hard work and toil that has attributed to the success of this webinar. Thanks to all our participants from across the world. Your presence and participation had given a great value addition to online event and instilled in us the confidence to organize many more in the near future. Thank you all once again. Our well-wishers, research scholars, and students are thanked from the bottom of our hearts for their valuable participation and presence with us for these 2 days. Last but not the least, my special thanks to our technical expertise team, Dr. Juliet Catherine Angel, Ms. Dharmi, and Ms. Vasumati, for making this a real event with the magical hands and helping us in live streaming in the YouTube channel. Thank you, teachers. The best or beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt by the heart. Yes, certainly indeed, in this season of the COVID-19 crisis, let's realize this reality and feel the need to carry home the positive vibes that emerged from the 2-day academic deliberations and reach out to touch the lives of our differently abled brethren with better choices and thwarting challenges through effective action and advocacy. Thank you, one and all. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sister, for that nice vote of thanks.
Thanks, Angel. Thank you, sister. Participants, thanks for your enthusiastic participation. We look forward to your support, to your participation in many more such programs. Thanks so much for your overwhelming response. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you benefited from this. We hope that you've taken ample information for your professional development. Thank you and God bless you. You have the link that is provided in the chat. Kindly the feedback link to answer those questions over there and you will get your certificates. Over to Crescenta for more information. Dr. Crescenta.
Thank you, Sheila. Participants, kindly assessment form for today. Those of you who have not filled up the assessment today, please leave your CRR number, contact number, and email ID. We shall contact you tomorrow. Participants who have not done with the assessment of yesterday, kindly leave your email ID, a WhatsApp number, along with your CRR number. We will contact you tomorrow. Kindly fill up the assessment form for today.
Ma'am, shall we have the photo session now?
Yes.
Lavanya Raj, are you there? Lavanya? Lavanya J. Raj,
yes, ma'am.
Our alumni.
Yes,
are you
ma'am.
there? Love to see you.
Can you see me, ma'am?
Yeah. Yes, Lavanya.
Yes, ma'am. It was a wonderful experience.
Yes, Lavanya.
Ma'am, it was a wonderful experience, ma'am. It was as though attending the college again. So really, there's lots I've taken for my sessions and all. So it was really connecting with all of you again. So it was
good. Happy to see your
classmates. It was really very fruitful, ma'am. Yes, I was very happy to see all my classmates.
Yeah.
My juniors, those are really successful. Taking lots of lessons, actually.
Okay. Thanks so much,
Thank you for
Lavanya.
acknowledging
Thank you
me.
and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Go back to the photo session, please. Juliet?
Ma'am, Dharmi is taking the photo, ma'am.
Oh, yes, Juliet. Okay.
It's done, ma'am.
Is everything over?
Yes, ma'am. It's over, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, everybody. Please fill your feedback forms. The photo session is over. I'm sure all of you are captured. God bless each of you. Thank you and goodbye.